Hey everyone, welcome to FanFic Canon. Thanks for hitting play. I'm thrilled to bring this fan-made story to life for you. If you enjoy the ride and want more narrated fanfics, smash, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss an episode. And if you want audiobook of a novel of your choice, join my Patreon. Request any title that's freely available online, and I'll produce a full narration just for you. Now, let's dive into today's adventure.
The moment the words of the community leader echoed from the sky, the atmosphere froze. Black Rabbit's pupils shrank instantly. What he said struck her like a blade. Anxiety rushed through her chest, sharp and suffocating. Usually cautious and composed, she always tried to think ahead before acting. But now the fear in her heart overwhelmed that restraint, and her expression visibly changed. Her emotions had already reached their limit. Unable to stay silent any longer, she stepped forward and shouted toward the sky. "How can you do this?" Her voice trembled with urgency. "Vampires can only live under the sun in Little Garden. If they leave this world, their fate will be tragic. You absolutely cannot do this." Her desperate words made it clear how deeply she worried about Lady Letitia's future. But the leader floating above simply looked down with indifference. "That is the decision of our community's leaders," he replied coldly. "It is their choice, we have no right to interfere." He paused, his tone growing harsher. "And that girl belongs to us. How we deal with her is our business, not yours." His attitude showed complete disregard, not just for Black Rabbit but for everyone standing below. In his eyes they were nameless nobodies, unworthy of attention or respect. The words ignited anger among the group. On the ground, Black Rabbit, Asuka, and Luo Hao's companions all tightened their expressions, fury rising in their eyes. The insult was unbearable. Their companion was being treated like property, and every word from the sky only deepened their resentment. Yet no one moved. Despite their anger, they held themselves back. They all understood the situation clearly. Starting a fight now would only make everything worse. If they acted recklessly, resolving what came next would become far more difficult, so they endured. Black Rabbit's hand trembled as she clenched her fist so tightly that her knuckles cracked. Even so, she forced herself to stay still. Among them, Izyoi remained unusually calm. He showed little reaction to Letitia's situation itself, but the arrogant attitude of those people above clearly irritated him. Like the others, he restrained himself, watching quietly and waiting for the right moment. He would observe first, then decide whether to fight. After all, in his eyes, that group of self-important fools posed no real threat to him at all. And deep inside, Izyoi carried absolute confidence in his own power. While everyone else reacted to the tense situation, Luo Hao remained completely still. His arms were crossed over his chest, his expression calm and indifferent, as if none of this concerned him in the slightest. No, it would be more accurate to say that nothing here was worthy of moving him. Unless an opponent strong enough to excite him appeared, his emotions would not change. And clearly, the members of the Perseus community floating in the sky did not reach that level. From beginning to end, Luo Hao's gaze barely lingered on them. He had no interest in joining this childish confrontation. In his eyes, the situation did not require his intervention at all. Enemies of this level could be handled easily by Izyoi and Black Rabbit alone. So he watched silently, without comment, without reaction. But while Luo Hao remained calm, Black Rabbit could no longer suppress her anger. Looking at the arrogant smiles and mocking expressions in the sky, the frustration inside her finally exploded. "Damn you, you're far too arrogant." Her voice trembled with rage. "If that's how you want it, then even if I must break the rules, I'll defeat every single one of you." The moment her words fell, her beautiful blue hair shimmered, gradually shifting into a brilliant sakura pink. Crackling lightning burst into existence around her raised right arm. Indra's spear. A deafening thunderclap followed. A massive bolt of lightning descended into her hand, taking the shape of a long spear. The weapon was grand and overwhelming, adorned like a treasure forged from pure gold, radiating both majesty and destructive power. This was the power of the Moon Rabbit clan, the noble race blessed within Little Garden. The reaction from the Perseus members was immediate. Fear flashed across their faces. That's impossible. No way that's real. How could someone from a nameless community possess Indra's spear? It has to be fake, but why does it feel so powerful? Their voices grew uncertain as the overwhelming aura reached them. Even from a distance, the spear's energy pressed against their bodies like a storm. If that weapon were genuine, they knew they wouldn't stand a chance. Hearing their shaken voices, Black Rabbit gritted her teeth and glared upward. "Whether it's real or not," she said coldly, tightening her grip on the spear, "you're free to test it yourself." Lightning surged violently around her, growing denser and more ferocious. The air itself seemed to tremble under the force gathering in her hands. Usually Black Rabbit appeared gentle and soft-spoken, but as a noble of Little Garden, a member of the Moon Rabbit clan, her true power was anything but weak. The moment she drew upon a divine weapon, that hidden strength became impossible to ignore. Boom, a loud noise. When Black Rabbit, she began to condense the powerful power called Indra's gun in her hand. Immediately, the deafening and terrifying roar has also spread, as the strongest lightning in nature. When such power is released, it is enough to make people feel frightened. I saw it at this time in the hands of the Black Rabbit. The power of that thunderbolt was released unscrupulously at this time. Just watch from a distance. One can already feel that very terrifying power. Even at this moment, some weaker beings are close to the words of the Black Rabbit. They will immediately be directly burned to death by the power of this lightning. What a terrifying power this is. If Black Rabbit, she herself can also participate in the game. I am afraid that this community will not fall to this point at all, because the power she possesses is simply too powerful. It can even be said that it is going back to Izyoi, before he succeeded in taking full control of his power. Black Rabbit is still a very scary existence, and immediately felt the real power released from the Black Rabbit. Those members of the Perseus community floating in midair, they also immediately showed a very fearful expression. Originally, they thought that the gun of Indra was in the hands of Black Rabbit, probably just a piece of junk, but in the current situation, that may not be the case. The artifact she was holding might be the real thing. And if this is the case, it means that the power she possesses is very terrifying, just by virtue of the words of these members of the Perseus community. At this stage, there is simply no way to compete with it. Come and try my best. With the Black Rabbit's order, at this time she was about to release the power of the long spear in her hand, but at such a critical moment. And I have endured it for so long, what the hell are you impulsive about? Because it was the retrograde Izyoi at this time. He has already been dazzled by the anger and he can't even judge the current situation well. Thank you for reading this story at Fiction Zone. Net, your support enables us to keep the site running. What the hell are you doing? Those guys were so arrogant just now, we absolutely can't let them go. It's not the time for us to take action. No matter how angry you are, we too can't take action casually. Obviously the Black Rabbit at this moment. I saw the Black Rabbit at this time. There is no way to successfully release her terrifying power of killing at this time. Sudden, this made it impossible for her to release the skills that had already been accumulated and power. As he spoke at this time when he went back to Izyoi, he clenched his fists even harder and even made some slight tremors. She was very distressed, turned around and asked the retrograde Izyoi behind her. Let the group of guys in the sky successfully escape the catastrophe. The release of the skills she stopped at this time, the pink hair also returned to blue. He suddenly appeared behind Black Rabbit and grabbed each other's ears with one hand. And after listening to what Izyoi said, he was called the Black Rabbit at this time. He also finally reacted. In the current battlefield, she may not be the only one who feels angry. A few other people may also feel very angry. But even so, they still did not burst out immediately, because they are very clear. Now is not the time to get started. Plus, they are also very clear. Defeat them in the game, it will be more useful. And now he is so casual and impulsive. May have the opposite effect. After all, in this little garden world, if you don't rely on the game to fight, this will definitely be a wrong approach. In addition to the Black Rabbit, she is a noble of the Moon Rabbit family in this Hakaniwa world. She couldn't do such impulsive actions at will. Moreover, Black avoid the words of this rabbit. Actually, in the world of this little garden in this community, there should be other more useful usages. After all, the strength of this rabbit cannot be underestimated at all. From the previous battle, it can be clearly seen, just though it says so. But at this time, the Black Rabbit, she still felt very angry, only at this time. She immediately raised her right hand and pointed at the members of the Perseus community in the sky, and she said loudly, "But if you think about it, go back to Izyoi. Those guys are so arrogant, don't you have any anger towards them? I feel at least let them be punished a little bit. And I don't want those guys to take Lord Letitia away so easily." While talking about the Black Rabbit at this time, she also turned her head suddenly and shifted her gaze to the sky, in the direction where the group of Perseus communities is located, but she was a little surprised. This group of guys suddenly disappeared without a trace. Now the Black Rabbit et al., there was no way to find any trace of them. Sure enough, those guys possessed a mysterious item like the power of a helmet that could hide their shadow. You can make them disappear directly, leaving the opponent with no trace at all, and looked at the people who disappeared in the sky. Immediately. At this time, the Black Rabbit, she also showed a rather surprised expression and said, Wait, what's going on here? Why did those guys disappear without a trace? Where did they go? Maybe it's because of being carried away by anger. At this time, the Black Rabbit, she even forgot those members of the Perseus community. They have special props that can hide their midterm. And Black Rabbit, she still said such ridiculous words. Baba, she is very aware of each other's abilities. And listen to what the Black Rabbit said. At this time of the reversal of Isyoi, he just continued to perfunctory and said, I guess he used the power of a special item that can hide his shadow. But it doesn't matter anyway, we can fight with their community when the time comes. Anyway, you have to take back Letitia's Luo Hao guy from that guy. Then the battle is inevitable, rather than fighting them ahead of time and wasting our chance close. Might as well start some real games with them and completely crush them from the front. Let them know what kind of existence the so-called guys without a community name are. The voice just fell along with the reversal of Isyoi. He also slammed his hands together fiercely, showing a rather excited expression. But I listened to what that reverse Isyoi said. At this time, the Black Rabbit, she only showed a helpless expression. But with the strength we have in our current community, it is still very difficult to compete with the community of Perseus, who is already very powerful. Obviously, even if it is already very clear that Reverse 16 Knights has the strength of Luo Hao and the two of them. At this time, the Black Rabbit, she is still once again, can't help but start to worry. Outdated conventions are always limiting the Black Rabbit's imagination and ideas, and listen to what the Black Free said, immediately. At this time of the retrograde Isyoi, he also refuted the guy 477 and said, HMPH, Black Rabbit, when you faced those experiences just now, you didn't have this attitude, you were more impulsive than you are now. Now, I kind of miss the you just now. But what you said is a little too unpleasant. You are always growing the ambition of others and destroying your own prestige. Obviously, at this time, the reverse of Isyoi, he couldn't help it either and spoke some words of reprimand towards the Black Rabbit. After all, this guy has clearly seen the strength of himself in Luo Hao countless times. Abgi, however, she still said such words at this time. In fact, if Black Rabbit simply felt that Isyoi and Luo Hao were not strong enough, that's okay. However, in the current situation, what really made Reverse Isyoi feel uncomfortable too, that guy doesn't trust his companions enough, and listen to what Isyoi said. Immediately, at this time the Black Rabbit's eyes dimmed again. That's why I said that just now was our best chance. If we didn't succeed in bringing back Letitia-sama just now, in the later games we are actually more difficult. Obviously, the Black Free at this moment. He has already given priority to the future battles, at this moment. Even he himself felt that there was no way to obtain any trace, it was the possibility of victory. But at the moment when Black Rabbit's voice fell, Luo Hao at this time, he also suddenly said, but there's no denying that if you beat them in the game. Compared with directly defeating them just now, the effect is more direct and more excellent. And we are more justifiable, not to mention can also promote our name. No matter from which point of view, defeating them in the game is a more priority choice. So in fact, it doesn't have much value at all. Obviously, Luo Hao at this time is also criticizing the Black Free. At the same time, Jiayu and Asuka stood beside the Black Rabbit. There are also Luo Hao's family members who also showed a somewhat pitiful expression at this time. It's just that they actually agreed with what Isyoi and Luo Hao said. No, it shouldn't say agreeing with what they said, it should say more trust in the power they have. And the fearful gesture that the group of guys showed just now can already be seen. If you want to deal with them, it should not be difficult. Everyone at this moment they think so. And the fact is exactly as they hoped. And listen to what Luo Hao said. Immediately, at this time the Black Rabbit, she also showed a rather pity expression. In her heart, as if he had some other idea. I saw that at this time she immediately lowered her head. With a very disappointed expression on his face, he opened his mouth and said, I know your strength is very powerful. Even if it's a real battle with his community, it is still able to achieve quite good results and records. There is even the possibility of victory. But with our current lowest level community, it would be quite difficult to challenge him. Even we still need a long time before we are qualified to challenge their community. Obviously, even if it is back to what Isyoi and Luo Hao said, Black Rabbit at this time, she still felt very disappointed and lost, and listened to what Black Free said. Immediately, at this time the long-distance birds and Luo Hao's family members, they also peeped face to face, revealing a somewhat complicated expression. Originally, they only thought that if they were judged only by their combat power, they actually didn't need to be afraid of each other at all. Not only are they not afraid of each other, but they even have an absolute winning rate. But after listening to what the Black Rabbit said, immediately, they also showed a somewhat complicated expression. They couldn't imagine it. It turns out that if you want to challenge that guy's community, you still have a rather complicated procedure. If so, it's a little hard to accept. The only bird that was far away, she said at this time. So if that's the case, how long does it take us to challenge like that guy's community? Obviously. At this time, Ju Yuan Fei Nio directly asked the question, the key point, maybe as long as the answer is given. They will be able to know what to do next. As for the incomparable entanglement and confusion like now, there is still discomfort, but listen to the question of flying birds from afar. Immediately, at this time the black rabbit she also sighed slightly and then continued to speak. According to the progress we are currently at, it will probably take several years. We are qualified to challenge that guy's common ground. But if that's the case, there's simply not enough time for us to challenge. Zero ask for flowers. Because by that time, Lady Letitia, she had already been sold to a world other than Hakoniwa. As long as you choose to look for that white yaksha at this time, you can perfectly solve this problem. Thank you for reading this story at FictionZone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Today's second update, please support a wave of full subscriptions, please support your readers. Obviously, but he knew the original very clearly. The reality is so cruel, so at this time Black Rabbit she felt extremely sad. It is also very clear at this time. At this time, Luo Hao, he didn't hear the words of Ju Yuan Fei Nio, High Rabbit and others into his ears at all. Even time is part of the problem, but like that Black Rabbit, Luo Hao just said indifferently. To the extent that the opponent's community can fight immediately. Obviously, not even a chance to challenge the opponent from the moment his voice fell. Since that's the case, it doesn't matter too much, just find that white yaksha and solve it a little bit. Now it's not just a question of being able to compete with the other side. Now the Black Rabbit has nothing in common with them at all in real time. Soon, Luo Hao at this time. They had already arrived at the Shirayasha shop with the Black Rabbit. Just like Luo Hao thought at the beginning. As soon as he entered the shop, he already saw the face that made him extremely familiar. The leader of the Perseus community, a man named Luos Perseus. It was this guy who cancelled the community game. This has led to a series of problems. At the same time, it was this guy who planned to sell that Letitia to the world of 477 outside Hakoniwa. It only caused these many problems, and it caused the Black Rabbit to be furious. However, actually, the words of Luo Hao and Izyoi at this time, they are somewhat grateful to this guy after all. The community of this guy is also very famous, and as a stepping stone for the current community of Black Rabbit and others, it's a very perfect choice. As long as there is this community as a starting point, so, Luo Hao and others, they can quickly develop the community and enter the shop of this Shirayasha. I saw everyone at this time, they are seriously sitting on top of the battle tatami. And sitting inside them was the man named Luos Perseus, and saw the people who came before him. At this moment that Luos Perseus, he also said indifferently, speaking of which, I just listened to what my subordinate said, there are some very powerful people. It turns out that you guys are really getting weaker and weaker. You tilde really disappointing. While talking at this time Luos Perseus, he also covered his face. Obviously, that Luos Perseus at this moment, he thinks that his subordinates are very weak and he can't even deal with these guys. After all, in the eyes of that teacher Lu, the community of Black Rabbits, they don't even have a name. Of course, that is also a group of very weak guys, and about your own emotions. He didn't show any restraint and he blatantly said these sarcastic words. Because he never put Black Rabbit and others into his eyes from the beginning. And listen to what that Luos Perseus said. At this moment, the Black Rabbit, she didn't have much emotional change. And the same at this time that white yaksha. He just gently covered his face and his smile with the folding fan in his hand. Obviously, that white yaksha at this moment, although she knew very well that she had no way to deal with that Luos Perseus, because of the relationship between oneself and one's own identity. But if it's Luo Hao and the two stinky boys, it's completely different, according to reason. Even the white yaksha at this time. Of course, Shirayasha felt more at ease. Thank you for reading this story at FictionZone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Shirayasha, she has been holding grudges for this Luos Perseus for a long time. These two guys were even more arrogant than Shirayasha. Then anger Luo Hao and reverse the 16th night. Today's third update, please support a wave of full subscriptions, please support your readers. He couldn't help but took out the folding fan in his hand. If they want to make a shot, they can naturally make it extremely easy. The current Luos Perseus, he doesn't have the slightest power to contend, and there isn't much of a problem with identity. Even Shirayasha is very difficult to deal with in the usual state. Now she hopes that this Luos Perseus will continue to be too arrogant. He gently covered his mouth, revealing a smug smile, plus because of previous conversations. At this time, she couldn't help but want to be in the middle and say that the plan has worked. The strength of the two of them. If the two of them make a move, then this kid will naturally suffer. Just listening to the very arrogant words of that Luo's Perseus. Others at this time, they did not feel very proud like that white yaksha, also not very lost like Black Rabbit. At this time they were simply angry. They were angry at the words of that Luo's Perseus, angry at his arrogant expression. 10. More importantly, to his idea of wanting to treat his future companions at will, feeling even more furious. Even at this time in one, the long-distance flying bird also wanted Luo Hao's family members. At this time they also showed a rather obvious expression of anger that was not concealed at all. Only at this time but still didn't say anything. Because at this time, Luo Hao and the others have not spoken. It was only after listening to what Luo's Perseus said. At this time, Luo Hao said that he did not make any statement, nor did he show any change in expression. It should be said that he didn't care much about what teacher Luo said. After all, as a king, how could he care about what some ants said? And he wasn't obliged to talk to someone who was about to become his defeat. So at this time Luo Hao, he did not choose to speak. He came here today just to find that white yaksha. Just ask how you can challenge like that guy's community. Other than that, Luo Hao at this time, he didn't have any idea of wasting his scheming. Plus he doesn't think he needs to speak at all now. Reverse Hui Isyoi next to him, he will take the initiative to solve all these troubles. At this moment, Luo Hao thought so. And just as Luo Hao thought, after listening to what Luo's Perseus said. Look at his incomparable expression again. Immediately, at this time of the retrograde Isyoi, he also pushed away his right hand. Then he showed an attitude of indifference and said, Sorry, the guy on your side is just too weak. We accidentally unleashed some momentum. It's enough for them to come back to you right away to complain. Obviously, he couldn't imagine it at all. It's just that the same Black Rabbit at this time of 477 did not choose to speak, the retrograde at this time Isyoi. And listen to the words of the reversed Isyoi beside him. At this time, the Luo's Perseus also showed a very ferocious expression. Today's first update, ask for a wave of full subscription support, please readers for your support. As far as we really did a pretty bad thing, at this time, I also want to apologize to you. He also used this kind of yin and yang strange words to fight back at the words said by Luo's Perseus in front of him. The guts of these guys are really not small. And after hearing what Isyoi said in reverse, but it was obvious from his expression. Immediately, beside him, the Black Rabbit, she also turned around abruptly and looked at the retrograde Isyoi beside her. Thank you for reading this story at Fiction Zone. Net, your support enables us to keep the site running. Immediately, in his own eyes, the weak guy who exists like a stalk of ants is actually able to say such words mocking him. He was quite dissatisfied with the words he had just said back to Isyoi, and looking at the extremely angry expression of that Luo's Perseus is very obvious. Immediately, at this time of the reverse return to Isyoi, he also showed a very disdainful, even smug smile and said, Oops, looks like he's very angry, what's wrong? Did something happen? It's not because of what I said just now and angered you guy, if that's the case, it's a little too ridiculous. While talking about the retrograde Isyoi at this time. He also continued, the corners of his mouth raised slightly. He is using his own way to mock the guy in front of him. Only, at this time of the retrograde Isyoi, he was not stimulating this Luo's Perseus for no reason. At this moment in the back of Isyoi's heart, maybe you already have an idea. After all, normally, he wouldn't have so many conversations with a bug. It's just that I go back to Isyoi, the power of this guy's ridicule is very powerful. So after listening to what Isyoi said, immediately, that Luo's Perseus, his mood also produced extremely powerful fluctuations. But soon he put his heart in this time. Reluctantly, the anger in his heart was reluctantly suppressed. It's just that although he said that, he still has a very ferocious expression and said, HMPH, as expected, there is no chance to communicate with lower-level people like you, and guys like you will only say such words. But you can only play a little bit on your mouth, right? Likewise, after saying these words, that Luo's Perseus, the corner of his mouth rose slightly, revealing a smug smile. He seemed to think he was doing this. He was able to mock the guy named Reverse Isyoi in front of him very well, and listen to the words of that Luo's Perseus. That retrograde Isyoi, he was not as she hoped and expected. Immediately, he had an angry look on his face. On the contrary, at this time, the reverse of Isyoi, he still had a very calm expression, waved his right hand slightly and said, Who knows, whether we can only do it with our mouths this thing. Thank you for reading this story at Fiction Zone. Net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Sweat, she didn't say much, but he was also able to realize very clearly why he would say such words at this moment, the retrograde Izyoi. It can only be through games, maybe it takes a fight to find out. In his heart, the black vinegar at this moment, he may have been unable to help but say something, doing it beautifully. It is also the reason why Izyoi has been stimulating this guy. He turned the topic back to the original focus. Because he was irritating, suggesting that the guy let him allow him this ranking game to unfold. It's just that this guy temporarily canceled the game. Today's second update, please support a wave of full subscriptions, please support your readers. But if he could be so easily provoked by himself and accept his challenge, then the situation would be completely different. The people who have led to the current reversal of Izyoi, they have no way to deal with this guy. After all, if you want to take Letitia back from this guy through formal means, going around in circles, at this time the reverse of Izyoi. If he listened to the words of the reversed 16 knights, or Zhao Zhao, the black rabbit standing beside him also turned his head sharply. That is to play with the community that Luo's Perseus is in, but although the black free now thinks so. But she is also trying her best to suppress her expression. Try not to let yourself show a smile at this time, because if there is a smile now, maybe that guy will be able to see through their plans very easily if the plan is really seen through. 1. It's going to get really bad, so at this time the black free, no matter how naive she is or how carefree she is, at this time she was trying her best to suppress her. She doesn't want to. Because he was alone, he interrupted the plan to return to Izyoi, so black free at this moment. 477, she was also looking at that Luo's Perseus with a very forgetful expression. How will he answer? If he really went so well, he would accept their challenge. Things just get pretty easy. After all, even though she was a black rabbit, she was always worried about this and that, but it is undeniable. Now she has also quite trusted Luo Hao and the strength of the two people. Even if they were to fight against such a powerful community of Luo's Perseus, they would not necessarily lose to each other now. Now it should not be said that it will not lose to the opponent, but it should be said that it is a sure win. Of course, the premise is that the other party can accept their challenge. This is the most important prerequisite. After all, generally speaking, communities of different levels do not fight. And now if the black rabbit and the others challenge each other, they can only hope that the other party can accept their challenge. And if the other party accepts it, the latter thing will be quite easy to handle. With their strength, they should be able to win the battle very easily. Although she is now black rabbit, she thinks that it takes a certain amount of effort and this has been done. And at the same time, listen to the other party's provocative words. Immediately. At this time, the expression of Luo's Perseus also changed slightly. Even at this time, he couldn't help clenching his teeth and said, HMPH, you guys really dare to say that a community that doesn't even have a name dares to be so arrogant. While talking about the Luo's Perseus at this time, he also cast a very ferocious expression on the retrograde Izyoi. At this time of the retrograde Izyoi, he still just showed a nonchalant expression, but only to this extent can have no effect at all. Thank you for reading this story at Fiction Zone. Net, your support enables us to keep the site running. Today's third update, please support a wave of full subscriptions, please support your readers. And at this time. He couldn't help it, but at this moment the corners of his mouth rose slightly unconsciously, and feel the same. Then he stimulated him and agreed to go back to the challenge of Izyoi and others. For him, this level of aura is the same as scratching without any difference. That Luo's Perseus was extremely ferocious and released the aura. That Luo's Perseus, the more his expression turned to the retrograde Izyoi at this time, the more complacent he became. He is hoping through these subtle gestures and movements. Now it's just with his hideous expression and aura. It was used to arouse the anger in the heart of that Luo's Perseus, as if this guy was intimidating. This is simply a completely impossible thing. How could it be possible to suppress reverse Izyoi? After all, she and Izyoi were not on the same level from the beginning. And looking at the arrogant and smug expression of that reverse Izyoi, there is also the confidence that the corners of his mouth rise slightly. The Lucius at this time, let alone how angry he was. In his eyes, the black rabbit and the people who went back to Izyoi were just some lower-level guys after all. But it is these weak and humble guys who dare to look down on themselves so much. That's exactly why that Lucius was really angry. And in the same way, look at Lucius and Izyoi who are among them. Continuing in his hands, the white yaksha behind the folding fan also showed a shallow smile, although she didn't say much now. But in her heart there was always a voice that said frantically, Fight, 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 going back to Izyoi, you kid must teach me a lesson about this Lucius. Obviously, she was quite looking forward to him getting Shirayasha at this time. The battle unfolds. He was looking forward to that retrograde Izuyoi, the guy who will be Lucius, the scene after giving the pain flat. It's just that time has passed, and after a while, the Lucius at this time, he also quickly realized what happened. I saw that very quickly. Everyone suppressed the anger in their hearts at this time, and then showed a somewhat smug expression and said with a smile, "Please complete the subscription, please follow the subscription, please support. Today's fourth update, please readers fathers." On the corner of reverse Izuyoi's mouth, there is still a confident smile hanging on it all the time. 9 After listening to the other party's answer, he did not show much emotional changes at this moment, and his expression was still so arrogant. Want to stimulate me verbally and then ask me to accept your challenge? It's really good to think. The slight smile on the corner of his mouth hasn't changed at all. Thank you for reading this story at Fiction Zone. Net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. HMPH, I now know what the hell you are doing. Although she still hasn't said much until now, what she can clearly feel is the feeling of loss in his heart at this moment. When she heard the other party's response, the black rabbit at this time didn't mean anything. She showed a very disappointed expression just because of the demonstration. 0 Ask for flowers. This time, it's really too bad, there's no chance for her at all. It is also very obvious that this guy does not intend to accept the challenge of Black Rabbit and others. And from the words of that Lucius just now, no one knew what he and Luo Hao were thinking about at this moment. It's just that I'm sorry, I'm not obliged to accept the challenge of you little bugs. It's really a waste of time for me. It's just that this result seems to be completely reversed by the expectations of Izuyoi and Luo Hao. Obviously, after learning of the other party's plan, at this moment that Lucius, he also has no intention of accepting the other party's challenge. I saw that at this time Izuyoi, he pushed his right hand away slightly and said with a pity, Oh, I didn't expect my strategy to be so easy. You can see through it, he really deserves to be the leader of the Perseus community, so smart. You saw through my plan all of a sudden and it didn't work at all, what a pity. While talking about the retrograde Izuyoi at this time, the corners of his mouth continued to rise slightly, although his 480 mouth is sitting on the words of a very pity. But there is no way to feel the pity of him from his expression and tone. This confident smile of his seems to be really intentional to show to this Luo's Perseus in front of him, and the same Luo Hao standing beside him. He also did not have any emotional changes at this time, or that he didn't pin his hopes on it at all from the beginning. Using this condition, if the opponent's words and means are used, he simply does not want to start the battle through such a method. For a true warrior, there is simply no need to use such means. Luo Hao at this time, he is also very clear. At this moment Izuyoi, he was just teasing the Luo's Perseus in front of him, and Luo Hao at this time, he doesn't think this game. It's the one that Luo's Perseus can refuse at will, because he is very clear as long as he collects the props of those powerful monsters. They can go straight to the guy and launch a mandatory challenge. So Luo Hao at this time, he will come to this place and ask that white yaksha how to challenge those powerful monsters. But he never thought of using the method of provoking the other party to let the other party accept the challenge. This is not a real warrior. Just looking at the arrogant reverse Izuyoi at this moment, he didn't care about his expression. The long-term flying bird and Luo Hao's relatives standing beside him. Even at this time, they couldn't help but gently cover their mouths, revealing a shallow smile, because they are very clear. At this moment that Luo's Perseus, he thought he was wrong that reversed Izuyoi's trick. But in fact, it was just going back to Izuyoi, completely teasing him in his hands. He hadn't really seen through Izuyoi's trick from the very beginning. On the contrary, he just played the guy with applause all the time. He didn't have too many ideas at all. Or maybe he just wanted to play with this guy, that's all. It's just that Luo's Perseus, he has never seen the trick of going back to Izuyoi. This can be said to be calculated. Even he was played by the other party with applause. And he thought that he had already controlled the specific direction of the entire battle. It's absolutely ridiculous, this guy. As a leader, the strength of this guy, that's all. At this moment, Luo Hao and Shizui were still nothing more than a clown in the eyes of the two of them. Even he has been disapproving of it, it is simply stupid. And soon at this time that Luo's Perseus also reacted, looking at that 2-6 reverse Izuyoi's extremely arrogant smile. Quickly, he already knew that he was being played by the guy in front of him and applauded. At this time before, he suddenly said with an expression like he was suddenly enlightened, "But damn it, what the hell are you laughing at, UB *****D? Aren't you guys trying to provoke me and challenge me?" Listening to the words that Luo's Perseus looked very anxious and angry. At this time, the distant birds and Luo Hao's relatives, they just continued to cover their mouths gently at this time. A slight smile appeared. They will not laugh openly and honestly at this time. Nor will they tell each other at this time. They were just playing tricks on him, because doing so would be pointless. Now it's like this, suggesting that the other party is playing tricks on him. Only in this way can arouse the anger towards the one party even more. It's just that they are now irritating each other's reasons. But it's not at all for wanting this guy to start a game with him, because they don't have to do it at all. Instead, they are at this time. I just want to make fun of this guy. After all, this guy is too arrogant. If you don't make fun of him, it's really hard to say. And from the current situation, the effect they have achieved is very obvious. It's just that the only people who feel happy at this time are reverse Izioi and the others. Look at that Luo's Perseus with a very angry expression, the black rabbit standing beside them. She also showed a very worried expression at this time. After all, she was completely different from reverse Izioi and others. Now she is very worried. If there is no way to start a game with this guy, they did not have any normal means at all, and of course they were able to take Letitia back from him. So if at this time, really P*** D off this guy, maybe he wouldn't agree to their challenge. So at this time the black rabbit, she couldn't help showing a rather worried expression. Now the thing she wants most, it is from this guy's hands to take back Lady Letitia, but look at this time of Luo's Perseus. He also quickly discovered the black rabbit. Her expression was completely different from everyone else's. Others, such as reverse Izioi and others, have a very happy expression. But the words of this beautiful woman with blue hair always showed a very worried expression. Speaking of this guy, she seems to be a noble of Hakoba, the Moon Rabbit clan. If you think about it like that, it's a lot soon, the Luo's Perseus at this time. He also suddenly reacted to some important things. I saw him at this time reluctantly suppress the anger in his heart. Then he stretched out a hand and held his chin, showing an expression that seemed to be thinking. After a little thought, he looked at the black rabbit in front of him and said, "By the way, it's you. You want to take back your former companion from my hands, right? But I'm really poor, that guy. In order to be able to see you, she even gave up her Demon King's godhead." In order to further stimulate the expression of Hai Min at this moment. At this time, the Luo's Perseus saw that he also continued to tell the truth of the matter to the black immunity, because he wanted to look at the guy in front of him. What kind of emotional change will she have after hearing these words? Accompanied by that, Luo's Perseus's voice just fell. Immediately, he was still at this time showing a somewhat hideous and somewhat smug smile. He was looking forward to Black Rabbit very much after she heard these words. What kind of expression will he show? It's just that after listening to the words that Luo's Perseus said, there will be a change in mood. But it's not just Black Rabbit alone, after all. Although it is short-lived, but at this moment, everyone in the Black Rabbit community, they also have a certain degree of emotion towards Letitia's words. Quickly, at this time as Luo Hao's dependents, Riaz also showed a somewhat complicated expression at this time. Even his magic power broke out at this time. That shocking, destructive magic power has extremely terrifying destructive power. If at this moment that Riaz unleashed her power without any hesitation, I am afraid that even that Luo's Perseus, he will not be able to leave this place easily. And in the same way, when I felt the magic power emanating from the red-haired woman in front of me, immediately, at this time the Luo's Perseus also showed a somewhat fearful expression. He thought secretly in his heart, this woman. What the hell is going on with her? Such a guy is actually in such a weak community. Luo's Perseus at this moment. What he couldn't imagine at all was in this ordinary garbage community that didn't even have a name. There is still such a beautiful and powerful woman. This is quite an incredible thing. It's just that Luo's Perseus at this time, although he was very shocked, he did not panic because of it, because he still holds this trump card in his hand. A necklace that can summon the Demon King Celestial Spirit. Just before that, Riaz was about to start. After she saw Lord Luo Hao's eyes, immediately she had already taken back the magic power she had released. Soon, at this time, Riaz, she had returned to calm again. After all, because Luo Hao, of course, most of them haven't said that they want to do it. Then they, as dependents, naturally can't do it at this time. And just when Riaz had just taken back her magic power, and look at the other side's actions. After all, in the previous conflict with their community, that is, Kyan's is the long-term flying bird, and he is also emotional, which has caused a slight change in the pool. Only at this time, if it wasn't for Letitia's sudden stay. Haimjima Aquino, who is also a servant of Luo Hao. A little helpless at this time, Riaz, she also nodded. Thank you for reading this story at Fiction Zone. Net, your support enables us to keep the site running. She was also at this time when he also gently put his right hand on Ria's body. Please complete the order, please follow the order, please support. Today's third update, please readers, fathers. After all, that Lady Rita was one of her most precious companions. It may have been a long time ago that a bird would have turned into a stone sculpture. Then at this time, Hajime Akino, she also shook her head indifferently. But now she actually gave up her most important demon king's godhead in order to be able to meet herself. As for the Black Rabbit, her mood changes at this time were even more obvious. What a cruel and realistic thing this is. The ones with more fluctuating emotions should be Jiayuan Asuka and Black Rabbit, so after hearing the words that Luo's Perseus said. Only at this time though. At this time the emotions of the people had undergone tremendous changes. It's just that at this time there are Luo Hao and the other two in the reverse cycle of Izuyoi. They did not produce too many emotional changes, for both of them. Maybe such a thing is also in their expectations, and even if it were true, they also don't feel too many emotional changes, because they are very clear. As long as he defeats this guy in the next game, he will be able to take that Letitia back from his hands with great ease. So at this time to think about these meaningless things, there is no need at all. Of course, the expressions of Izuyoi and Luo Hao were reversed. There is no change and it is a very normal thing. And the same is the white Yaksha at this time, after she listened to what Luo Hao said. Immediately, her expression also changed slightly. To that girl of Letitia, she also has a certain degree of cognition and understanding. After all, she is also a devil. But Shirayasha couldn't even imagine that it was this girl. She actually gave up her own demon king's godhead in order to be able to see Black Rabbit and the others. What an amazing and sad thing this is. In fact, such a thing is completely unnecessary, because the strength of Luo Hao and reverse Izuyoi. No need to worry at all. And it was originally the white Yasha who hoped that their two camps could fight at this time. At this time, she also regained her expression again, revealing a somewhat serious look in the future. Because she was also very aware of the battle at this time, maybe not as easy as you think. It should not be said that, it should be said that this battle is more serious than I imagined. Because this is for the community of Black Rabbits. This is the real first game, the first battle, and looking at the Black Rabbit whose expression was immediately lost. At this time of Luo's Perseus, he also showed a very arrogant expression and the plan was successful. While talking about Teacher Lu at this time, he also walked slowly to the Black Rabbit. Please complete the subscription, please follow the subscription, please support today's fourth update, please readers, fathers. It seems like it's the first time I've really seen you, this guy, something like you. The voice just fell. I saw that at this time he continued, arrogant and said with a smile. At this time, Luo's Perseus seemed to have thought of another trick. Then why don't you join my community and become my thing, and then I will return Rita to you. I have never had anything as rare as yours in my stuff. He already knew what he just said. Thank you for reading this story at FictionZone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Then he continued arrogantly and said with a smile, obviously. Having said that, it would be really nice if you could join my community. He also showed a look of anticipation. Speaking of which, I remember that you are a noble rabbit in this little garden world, right? Sudden, it has also been able to shake the Black Rabbit's inner thoughts and even caused a very obvious effect. And it's a very surprising and curious fact. And listen to what that Luo's Perseus said. Immediately, the expressions of the people present froze. They couldn't imagine this Luo's Perseus. How dare he make such a brazen condition, just downright disgusting. Do you want to trade Black Rabbits in this way? Obviously. At this time, Jiu Yuan Fei Nio and Luo Hao's relatives, they were also very angry about what Lu Ayasi said. And at this time, the long-distance flying birds. She also shifted her gaze to the Black Rabbit beside her, although some do not want to. But according to Jiayu and Asuka's understanding of Black Rabbit, maybe he will choose to agree to the other party's conditions at this time. After all, this guy is always afraid of this and that. And he still cares deeply about Letitia, and in terms of the current situation. The other party will not return Letitia to Black Free and others so easily. And that means, at this time, Black Rabbit may only be the best choice to trade himself out. For Black Rabbit himself, this may be the best solution. 1. For Luo Hao and others, this is certainly not the case. And looking at the expression of the Black Rabbit at this moment, immediately, at this time Jiu Yuan Fei Nio, she also said with a frown, wait, Black Rabbit, you don't really want to agree to this guy's conditions. Obviously, at this time Jiu Yuan Fei Nio, she also directly expressed her inner worries, and at the same time, at this time, Luo Hao's family members were sitting beside him. At this time, they also showed a somewhat complicated expression. They didn't say much at this time. But it can be clearly felt at this moment. The feeling of worry in their hearts, only at this time. The only people who are worried about the Black Rabbit are Jiayuan Asuka and Luo Hao's family. Only these girls are worried about the situation of the Black Rabbit. As for Luo Hao and Reverse Izoi, their expressions had not changed at all from the beginning. You are here too much to hinder our sight and affect our communication. Actually for them. He is here just hindering the events of Luo Hao and others and polluting the air here. And in his eyes, Zero asked for flowers, because they didn't need to pay attention to this guy from the beginning. Obviously in that Luo Hao's words. Please complete the subscription, please follow the subscription, please support. Today's first update, please readers' fathers. Anyway, the game can be forced, and there is no need to listen to what this guy says. He also closed his eyes at this time and spoke in his low, hoarse, and majestic voice. Thank you for reading this story at Fiction Zone. Net, your support enables us to keep the site running. Are you done? You can leave here when you're done. Oh. What he said was of no value at all because it had no effect on either of them, and finally got it. At this moment that Luo's Perseus was like a moth ant, a humble bug. The current Luo's Perseus. At this time, Luo Hao was originally crossing his arms in front of his chest, and listened to what Luo Hao said. Immediately, at this time of Luo's Perseus, he also showed an absolutely hideous expression, a mere community without a name. How dare they dare to be so arrogant and even call themselves a bug? What an arrogant existence. He dared to be so arrogant without even having much power and to release such rhetoric. This guy really dares to say it. Even 4080 is Luo's Perseus and he can't hold back his anger. I saw Luo's Perseus at this time. He stood up immediately, then showed an extremely ferocious expression and said, "Damn it, a community that doesn't even have a name dare to be so arrogant in front of me." Accompanied by the voice of that, Luo's Perseus just fell. Immediately, from his hand, a weapon like a sickle appeared out of nowhere. Afterwards, he was already striding forward, running in the direction of the Luo Hao in front of him, in the face of the menacing attack of Ruse. Luo Hao at this time. He still just crossed his hands on his chest, showing an extremely calm attitude, and he didn't even open his eyes once. Just like what he said from the beginning, him at this moment. He didn't put the man named Luo's Perseus in front of him into his eyes at all. From the beginning, in his eyes. This guy is already a bug. At the same time, he looked at Luo's, who had already taken the initiative to move. I saw the long-distance flying birds at this time. She also turned her head sharply and then looked at the Luo's Perseus in front of her. Suddenly activated her ability, she shouted loudly, "Stop, kneel down for me," with the order of the long-distance flying bird. Sudden. At this time, Luo's Perseus felt an inexplicable strong pressure. Obviously, she just said something. But at this moment, Ryuoshi, he felt a sudden and powerful force. Directly let yourself have no way to move freely and even kneel directly on the tatami. But even though he said that at this moment, he still showed an extremely ferocious expression. He gritted his teeth. Damn it, what the hell is going on with this woman? Why would I take the initiative to kneel down in front of this guy without any strength to resist? Obviously, at this time that Luo's Perseus. He also didn't know how to solve these things that happened to him, just a weak woman. There was no way he could resist his power. This is simply an impossible thing. For Luo's Perseus, such a gesture is simply disgraceful. Shame to the extreme. Then I saw that at this time with the passage of time 2/6 slower. Bang! A sound, that Luo's Perseus at this time. He actually succeeded by relying on his own strength, breaking through the shackles of the long-term flying birds. He stood up abruptly, waved the sickle in his hand, and flew in the direction of Luo Hao in front of him. And facing Luo's Perseus, who suddenly stood up, and watching Luo Hao, who was about to run towards him. Immediately. At this time, the people also showed a nervous and worried expression. And in the same way, at this time, the reverse of Izoi, he also immediately stood up from the tatami, although this guy is not attacking himself. But back to Izoi's words. He will not be so relaxed, watching this guy do whatever he wants. After all, this also involves the question of dignity. At this time of retrograde Izoi, he wouldn't let the other party succeed so easily, and the same at this time as Luo Hao's dependents. Ria's and the others at this moment, they are the same. Immediately, he stood up from the tatami and assumed a fighting stance. At any time he will shoot and kill this guy in front of him. After all, compared to this game and that Letitia's words. As far as the current situation is concerned, the situation of Lord Luo Hao is more important. Absolute, don't let this guy touch a single cent of Lord Luo Hao, although it is only by virtue of the power of this little ant in front of him. There was absolutely no way to compete with Lord Luo Hao. He couldn't even touch Luo Hao's guts at all. But even though he said that, he still couldn't let this guy touch Luo Hao at will. After all, this is equivalent to the negligence of their relatives. At the same time, facing the Luo's Perseus who was about to come before him. At this moment, Luo Hao, he still just crossed his hands on his chest and didn't even open his eyes. He didn't seem to see the words of this guy in front of him. And he doesn't think this guy has the ability to touch himself. This is simply an impossible thing. On the other side, Asha at this time, she was the same, but showed a somewhat smug expression regarding the extremely dangerous movements and gestures of that Luo's Perseus. At this moment, she did not feel any trace of danger. He even expected that after this time, Luo Hao and the others would personally take action and teach this stinky boy a good lesson. Of course, if Luo Hao doesn't make a move, it's okay to go back to Izyoi, the white yaksha at this moment. She wasn't flustered by this and was even quite excited at this time. I was finally able to see the boy's shriveled appearance. It was just when that Luo Hao's scythe was about to swing on Luo Hao's body. Sudden, at this time, the retrograde Izyoi, he stretched out his right hand. He was very relaxed, and with one finger he was already blocking the attack of the guy 480. It is unimaginable that, in the face of such a sharp and violent attack, at this moment Izyoi, he was able to block it extremely easily with just one finger. It seems that there is an extremely exaggerated gap in strength. And watching that guy's attack was ineffective. Soon, at this time, the distant birds, black rabbits, and Luo Hao's relatives, they also breathed a long sigh of relief at this time. For the current situation, they also feel very relieved. After all, that guy's attack didn't work, which is undoubtedly a good thing. Just look at his full blow. It turned out to be the guy in front of him who had not been taken seriously by him. Block it with one finger, Luo's Perseus at this time. He also immediately showed a very unbelievable expression. It was unimaginable for him. The guy in front of him, he was able to block his attack with an extremely relaxed attitude, and if he just easily blocked his attack, he could barely accept it. Even so, it's still a little weird, but at least it was easier for Luo's Perseus to accept it than now. Because at this moment, the reverse goes back to Izyoi. He turned out to be only relying on one finger of his own. It was extremely easy to block the attack of Luo's Perseus. What an incredible fact this is. I saw that Luo's Perseus at this time. He also showed a very ferocious and incredible expression once again. He felt extremely humiliated. Obviously, it's just an ant in his eyes. But he was able to block his all-out strike so easily. How can this not make him feel humiliated and angry? I saw that Luo's Perseus at this time, he was very ferocious and said, "Damn it, damn it, damn it. You, a guy who doesn't even have a community name, is so arrogant that you dare to block my attack." He is extremely angry, accompanied by the voice of that Luo's Perseus just fell. Immediately, the blue veins on his right arm burst out and a powerful force erupted. Luo's Perseus at this moment, he burst out with more powerful power and he wanted to break through the defense of Izyoi, then attack the more arrogant Luo Hao behind him. But what made him even more angry happened at this time. And looking at the Luo's Perseus who was waving these weapons hard and trying to break through his defense, the white yaksha who was standing on the other side also put the folding fan in his hand to his mouth. At this level, don't you even have the qualifications to make me interested? Is his power far weaker than the guy in front of him? At this moment, that Luo's Perseus, he felt even more incredible and humiliated. Indeed, be a little more serious, Luo's Perseus, when dealing with this guy, because no matter how he exploded his power at this time, at this moment he immediately fanned the flames and said, hey, take it seriously, it's not good at this level. If you're not serious, you may not be able to compete with him. As Shirayasha's voice just fell, he also showed a somewhat smug smile at this time. At this time, the reverse goes back to Izyoi. He also raised the corners of his mouth slightly, revealing a somewhat smug and somewhat mocking smile, said slightly sideways, and accompanied by the moment when the words of the reverse return Izyoi just fell. Obviously, at this time of the reverse Izyoi, he was directly full of his ability to ridicule. In front of the retrograde Izyoi, he blocked his right hand, but still remained motionless, listening to the arrogant words of Shirayasha and reverse Izyoi. Looking at the group of people around him, he seemed to be very mocking. Immediately, he also felt even more infuriated at the Luo's Perseus who was using this. It should have been him who played everyone with applause. That way everything is in your hands. This is exactly the case. But now it turns out that he has become the clown and he has become the object of being fooled by everyone. The Luo's Perseus at this moment, not to mention how angry he was. He had been pampered since he was a child. How could he have experienced such a thing? He will never let go of these guys in front of him. and 483 is looking at the Luo's Perseus, who is getting more and more angry. That by Yasha at this moment, he just showed a more proud smile. He was looking forward to this scene for a long time. Now I can finally see the long noodles that this guy was so angry that he was scratched. How could this not make sure Yasha happy? On the contrary, now he is even more looking forward to when the battle will start. He was looking forward to that Luo's Perseus. The pitiful appearance after being defeated by Isyoi and the others with absolute determination. This guy has been a winner from the start. Time to savor the feeling of defeat. It was just when everyone smiled and felt extremely calm. Only the Black Rabbit at this moment, she still has a sad face. He was still worried about that Lady Letitia. After all, if the game doesn't have a way to unfold, there is simply no way to beat this guy. And that is to say, they also have no way to take back Lord Letitia from him through normal means. Then Sue was in the heart of Black Rabbit at this moment. The only hope is this. Therefore, it is normal for her to feel sad at this time, and it can no longer be normal. Perhaps now that his own strength is obtained, there is indeed no way to defeat this humble guy. Now it's just giving you a little bit of an upper hand. Please complete the subscription, please follow the subscription, please support. Today's first update, please readers' fathers. Just though it says so. If it wasn't for the inconvenience of paying for this place, he would have summoned the Protos in that necklace at this time. But if he just provokes these guys in front of him at this moment, Luo's Perseus still has his own way. After all, he's not some kind of upright guy. After I sell that vampire to the world outside Hakoten, it will be you who will really suffer. As long as you don't have a way to challenge me, you will have no way to get that guy back. Luo's Perseus at this moment. Although he felt extremely angry, he did not completely lose his ability to think. But Luo's Perseus himself is not a warrior whose main strength is his own. I saw that at this time he continued to provoke the people in front of him and spoke. Thank you for reading this story at Fiction Zone. Net, your support enables us to keep the site running. HMPH, don't think you can defeat me just like this, you lowly bastards. He is also very clear. After all, he has too many artifacts. It's just Luo's Perseus at this time, just listening to the very arrogant words of that Luo's Perseus. Same, at this time Isyoi he only said with a slightly raised corner of his mouth. Hey, you guys are so sure, don't we have any means to deal with you little guy? I remember that as long as certain conditions are fulfilled, a mandatory challenge to your community can be launched, right? Obviously, at this time, the reverse of Isyoi. He also held a trump card in his hand. Because he is also very clear, as long as the specific challenge task is completed, it is possible to launch a mandatory challenge to the family's life together, and there is no time to waste time with this guy. It's just that at this time I go back to Isyoi. He also wanted to teach this arrogant guy a lesson, after all. This guy is too arrogant. Moreover, he also insulted his companions. At this time of the retrograde Isyoi, he would never let this guy go. And listening to the words in front of this retrograde Isyoi, immediately, at this time the Luo's Perseus also showed a somewhat puzzled and surprised expression. He doesn't understand, is this kid really stupid or fake? Then he said with a very funny expression, hahaha tilde. You guy, do you know what you're talking about? You want to complete the challenge with a community that doesn't even have a name and then challenge my community. Hey, is your community all these idiots? While talking about that Luo's Perseus at this time, he also turned his attention to Black Rabbit. He seemed to be laughing at the Black Rabbit in front of him. Why is there such a stupid guy in his community, according to common sense? At this moment, the normal community is completely unable to complete the challenge task proposed by Luo's Perseus and their community. No normal community can accomplish such a task. That's not to mention a weak community like the Black Free that doesn't even have a name. Such a task is as difficult as it is to take people to the sky, and it is simply impossible to accomplish. So at this time, Mr. Lu, he would feel ridiculous about the words of Isyoi, and it was a matter of course. Ask for flowers. Do not, in fact, the Black Rabbit at this time, she also had exactly the same idea as Luo Hao. Hope you can still laugh. Just relying on the strength of the two of them may still be insufficient. It was just when the Black Rabbit was about to agree to the conditions of that Luo's Perseus. Seeking full order, seeking follow-up order, seeking support. Second update today, I beg you readers, dads, thank you for reading this story at Fiction Zone. Net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Right, with the Black Rabbit at this moment she also showed a somewhat worried expression. I don't care what an ant says, but it is undeniable that the task that is about to face is also very difficult. Wait for our challenge. It should not be said that the strength is insufficient, it should be said that the time is not sufficient at all. It's not up to you whether you can complete that challenge or not, And also listen to what that Luo's Perseus said. Although Isyoi and Luo Hao are reversed, the two are very powerful. At this time, Luo Hao suddenly stood up and said, "At this moment, the Black Free, she thinks so." Listen to what that Luo Hao said, Luo's Perseus, who was originally very proud and mocked. He was also at this time, and he showed a very puzzled expression. "I originally thought that the man in front of me was a tough guy. 1B. At this moment, Luo's Perseus, he just thinks this is a fool." I saw Luo's Perseus at this time, he also said with a smile. 48-3. Did I say you guys were joking, or were you serious? Those who can complete that challenge are even among the lower classes of this Hakanua world. There are not many communities at all, and it can be accomplished only with the help of a community like you that doesn't even have a name. Are you trying to challenge us too? This is simply an impossible thing. While talking about that Luo's Perseus at this time, he also turned his attention to Black Rabbit. Then he continued and said very disdainfully, "HMPH, I thought your rabbit was summoning something a little more interesting, but I didn't expect it to be a bunch of idiots. It's really boring. These guys don't have any special abilities except that they can fight a little bit, and they are also very stupid. It is utterly stupid to want to challenge without even seeing the current situation." From the words of Luo's Perseus at this moment, it can also be clearly heard that he is very disdainful of the retrograde Isyoi and Luo Hao and others in front of him. EP. He was suppressed by that reverse Hui Isyoi with great ease just now, and he is still the same. And listen to each other's words. At this time, the Black Rabbit lowered her head once again, exactly as this guy said. Now, if the Black Rabbit and others community wants to challenge this guy, it still has a certain degree of difficulty. Do not. It should be said that there is no way to accomplish this task in the short term. Of course, this is just the wishful thinking of Black Rabbit alone. At this time of the retrograde Isyoi, as well as Luo Hao and others, they don't think so. They are confident in their own strength. It's just to complete some challenging tasks and then challenge like this guy, it's not that difficult at all. On the other side, just when Black Rabbit was about to speak zero, the white Yaksha sitting on the other side. She was the same, under the folding fan, said with a slight smile, Hey, you underestimate this guy a bit too much. The power of this guy may be completely beyond your imagination. Didn't you have a good experience with that power just now? You are not the opponent's opponent at all, so they want to complete those challenging tasks, and it is quite simple to challenge your community to play. While talking, Shirayasha at this time, she also shifted her gaze to Luo Hao and reverse Isyoi. Then she continued to say 2-6. And what I can guarantee is that the power of these two guys will definitely exceed your imagination, because I've played against these two guys before. It's really surprising that even a mere human can fight against the Demon King. Hahaha. As Bai Yasha's voice just fell, she still raised her head and laughed loudly at this time, seeking completeness, and listened to the words of that white Yaksha. Same, that Luo's Perseus at this time. He also showed a very disdainful expression. Because he didn't believe what this white Yaksha said at this time, because in his understanding, humans are always just human beings, how can they compete with the real devil? Although at this time that Luo's Perseus, he also thinks that he is very powerful. But even so, when facing the starry sky of the sun and the white night Shirayasha, he didn't even dare to breathe at all. The power is not one level at all, and such an existence at this time of one. She actually took the initiative to say that her strength might not be as good as the two little humans in front of her. How is this possible? It's simply a fantasy. That Luo's Perseus at this time, he would never believe what Shirayasha said anyway. On the one hand, the Black Free at this time, she also showed a somewhat surprised expression. She couldn't imagine that Shirayasha-sama at all. She would actually say these words at this time. That Lord Shirayasha actually took the initiative to admit his lack of strength. How is this possible? And in the previous battle, she also successfully defeated Luo Hao and reverse Isyoi, although both camps did not use their full power at all. But in terms of the outcome of that battle, the two of them were indeed lost to that Shirayasha-sama. But at this time, Lord Shirayasha, she actually said such words on her own initiative. What was he thinking about? For this question, the Black Rabbit at this moment, she can't think of an answer anyway, but what she knew was Lord Shirayasha. When she does things, she usually acts after thinking. But at this time, the Black Rabbit, it's normal that she can't think of an answer. After all, her brain was not very bright. And coupled with this time Shirayasha, the reason why she said such words is not for any purpose at all. But she simply wanted to let Luo Hao and reverse return to Isyoi. And this kid named Luo's Perseus has a good fight here. Then I looked at the pain of this guy named Luo's Perseus. After all, this stinky brat was just too medical. and because of her own identity, Yasha herself has no way to do it easily. So at this time, all she can do is to fan the flames. She is very much looking forward to the battle of these people, looking forward to the look of that Luo's Perseus eating marks. And then at this time, Luo's Perseus, he also said at any time, Hey, sure, Yasha, these children are going crazy here. Are you going crazy with them too? I am very aware of your power. Even if you are now, there is no way to show your true posture. But just based on who you are now, no one can compete with you at all. And you actually told me that your strength is not enough to deal with these two boys. This is really outrageous. If you want to lie, find a better reason. While talking about Luo's Perseus at this time, he shook his right hand slightly. He would never believe what Shirayasha said anyway. And listening to the words that Luo's Perseus said, looking at his extremely disbelieving expression and demeanor, immediately. At this time by Yasha, she also smiled indifferently and said, Oh, do you really think so? Didn't you yourself experience their power just now? Speaking of which, you are a little too weak and you can't even deal with these mere human children. Although the strength of these human children is indeed quite good, even at such a time, at this moment by Yasha, she still did not miss this opportunity to mock the Luo's Perseus in front of her. After all, she holds a grudge against this guy Shirayasha. Moreover, saying this can fully arouse this guy's anger. White Yaksha at this moment, she thinks Luo Hao is back to Izyoi. The two of them should not be able to shoot easily, but the words of this Luo's Perseus may not be enough. This kid is so handsome. But he didn't have any strength, he just relied on the props left by his parents, and he was king and hegemony. In fact, his own strength is not seen at all, for this Luo's Perseus. That by Yasha at this moment, she only has such an evaluation. And it's not just about strength, that guy is especially capable of provoking the anger of others. And listen to the words that Shirayasha said. At this moment, Luo's Perseus, he is naturally unwilling to admit such a fact. Because he was really not enough just now, enough to compete with the power of that reversal of Izyoi. I saw that Luo's Perseus at this time. He waved his right hand violently. Then he said very angrily, Damn it, who said I couldn't fight that guy? It's just that I just haven't adjusted it back for a while. And the abilities of those guys are so special that they didn't react for a while. The current Luo's Perseus, all he can do may only be stubborn. After all, if you really want to compete with these two monster-like men, his power is simply not enough to do such a thing. The difference in strength is incomparably obvious. Even if he is reluctant to admit it, the fact is still in front of his eyes. And listen to the conversation between Shirayasha and that Luo's Perseus. At this moment, Izyoi, he also shrugged his shoulders slightly, pushed his hands away and said, Hey, Shirayasha-sama, what you said is going too far. Just now I hadn't brought out a little bit of my strength to fight at all. Are you making me too weak? Obviously, at this time, the reverse of Izyoi, his words were also very obviously stimulating to that Luo's Perseus. At this time, it was obvious that he had made an act of fanning the flames. After all the word he, like by Kayan Zhao Yaksha, hates this man named Luo's Perseus quite a bit. At the same time, the Black Rabbit at this time also showed an extremely panicked expression. The situation is getting worse now. The smell of gunpowder is very obvious and it permeates the surrounding space. At this moment, it seems that a war is about to break out. At this moment, after ending the Black Rabbit and their community problem and the problem of Luo's Perseus, back to the base camp of the Black Rabbit community. At this moment, all of them showed a very reluctant expression and looked at Luo Hao in front of them, because at this time of Luo Hao, he had already received a new task from the system. You can go to the next Kamen Rider world to gain more powerful power, and there are such conditions. At this time of Luo Hao, he naturally will not continue to stay in this place. But since it has been in this Hakoniwa world for a while, Luo Hao at this time, he naturally wouldn't leave so easily. Therefore, he decided to let his family members stay in this world temporarily, try to bring this community together. Anyway, Fengmo has the power beyond time and space. After gaining enough power in the Kamen Rider world over there, Luo Hao, he will directly transcend time and space. Then try to come back here at this point in time. I saw Luo Hao's family at this time, that Ria's she spoke one step ahead. Lord Luo Hao, do you really want to leave this place temporarily, go alone and gain more power? From the reasoned words at this moment, she could clearly hear her reluctance for Lord Luo Hao. Because at this moment Luo Hao, he is planning to go to a special place by himself to gain more powerful power. And of course, everyone present. They also felt quite reluctant to leave the Lord Luo Hao, but they themselves are very clear. At this time, it would be meaningless to stop Lord Luo Hao. Do not. It should be said that their words have no way to play any role at all. Since it was Luo Hao's own decision, then no one can make her change her mind. This is his way of doing things, and it is also his principles of life. What's more, according to his character, it has already been decided, and no one can change him. He listened to what Rias beside him said. At this time, Luo Hao, he was just very indifferent, nodded and said without 487 caring. Almost, although there are more ways to gain greater power, but in the current situation, the most convenient technique is to go to that world. While talking Luo Hao at this time, he also glanced at Rias, who was very sorry in front of him, and the other dependents with very reluctant eyes. At this time of Luo Hao, he couldn't help but sigh again and then continued to speak. Don't worry, just go there for a while. I'll be back soon after gaining more power. And generally speaking, according to the time flow rate over there, it shouldn't take long for me to be back. No one knows whether Luo Hao's words at this moment are comforting these guys or just perfunctory. And listening to what Lord Luo Hao said and the Rias who was at this moment immediately, she also calmed down a bit. Then he nodded with the same affection in response to the Lord Luo Hao in front of him and said, "All right, I see, Luo Hao people, I will look forward to your return. Before you come back, we will definitely lead this community down." The voice that accompanied Kalia's just fell. Same. At this time Isyoi he also opened his mouth and said, "HMPH, I didn't expect you to leave this place so soon to gain more power. But don't worry, I will definitely become stronger when you come back." The voice just fell along with the reversal of Isyoi. He also showed a confident smile with a slightly raised corner of his mouth at this time, and I heard what Isyoi said. Similarly, Luo Hao at this time, he just nodded slightly. Then he has already used the power of the system. In an instant, the whole body shone with light and then disappeared in place. There was only a pity-looking crowd left, and they still stayed where they were, waiting for Luo Hao's return. When Luo Hao slowly opened his eyes again, quickly, he has already found himself in a very special world. The city here is just like the city where I lived before. There is not much difference. It's just that there are some very special sights around the city. And from time to time, there are some things that fly like bubbles which look quite beautiful. But it also feels very different. Too. Which Kamen Rider world did this come to? And just at Luo Hao, he just sighed when he came to this place. Bangdang, only dangdang. It is continuous from not far away, the crisp sound of cold weapons colliding with each other, and listen to such a crisp voice. Immediately, Luo Hao at this time, he also turned his gaze in the direction of the voice, and quickly entered his field of vision. It was a Kamen Rider that made him feel extremely familiar. On his body, the color scheme of red, black, and white is on the shoulder of his right hand, and a red dragon is floating. And in his right hand, he also held a holy sword of fire that exuded a scorching aura. Obviously, this is the second Kamen Rider in that Ryua, Kamen Rider Sacred Blade. And standing opposite this Kamen Rider Holy Blade, that special monster with a huge book on its head. It is this time the enemy of Kamen Rider Sacred Blade, the Golem Megiddo. Bang! Accompanied by the crisp sound of the collision between cold weapons and cold weapons again, that Kamen Rider Holy Blade at this time. He was actually hit by the Golem Megiddo and he took a few steps back. Countless sparks rubbed between the two of them, collided and shot on the ground. Obviously, Kamen Rider Holy Blade, he fell into the disadvantage. And that Kamen Rider Holy Blade, he took a few steps back again and again. Quickly, he also regained his stance. At this time, he also said immediately, "Damn it, this guy is very strong, but I will never give up so easily. I will not let go of those who use the power of books to hurt others." As a novelist, Kamiyama Fei Ma, he naturally disliked the Golem Megiddo at this time. He hates the existence of him who uses the power of books to hurt others. It's just that even though he said that, Kamen Rider has just become Kamen Rider Fei Yujin Kamiyama. At this time, he has not been able to master his own power. Therefore, when facing the Golem Megiddo in front of him, his performance was a bit difficult. And the Sudume who was hiding in the far corner of the city, she also immediately showed a somewhat flustered expression and said, "This is bad, that ugly-looking monster, how could he be so powerful? But what exactly happened? Why did Kamiyama Feiyu suddenly become so powerful? The things that happened around me today are too strange. It is really like a story in a book. For what happened to me today?" At this moment, Sudume also felt quite puzzled and troubled. However, what she hopes most now is to get rid of the Golem Megiddo quickly, and then go back to the ordinary life before. However, from the current situation, it may be difficult for her to realize this hope. At the same time, in another corner of the city, there was a man wearing the sword of truth and the robe of a swordsman. When he saw the Kamen Rider Saint who fell into the downwind, immediately, Shindo Taro Lun also immediately showed a worried expression. No, if it goes on like this, Kamen Rider's sacred blade will definitely lose to that guy. It would be bad if the holy sword of fire and the dragon of courage were taken away by those book demons. No, I can't continue to watch the game at this time, I have to make a move. The voice of Shindo Rentaro just fell. Immediately, a holy sword driver also appeared from his hand, as well as the water potential sword flowing water. He couldn't just watch Kamen Rider's sacred blade being defeated by that golem Megiddo, and the same on the other side. At this moment, Luo Hao, when he saw the Kamen Rider's sacred blade who fell into the disadvantage, he also sighed and said, even though that Kamen Rider holy blade, it's not that he can't deal with that golem Megiddo, but since I've already come to this world, I'll show my hands a little bit. Accompanied by that, Luo Hao's voice just fell, immediately. In his right hand, a watch of Kamen Rider Takueng already appeared. Similarly, a pure white spacetime drive appeared on his waist. Go back to that Kamen Rider holy blade on the battlefield with that golem Megiddo. Just when that Kamen Rider sacred blade was still thinking about how to defeat this golem Megiddo, suddenly a man in a black coat. He appeared in his field of vision, and the most striking thing was the white belt around his waist. When I just saw this man. Out of instinct, the Kamen Rider sacred blade at this time, he also felt that this man was definitely not an ordinary person. You, who are you? The question blurted out directly from Kamen Rider Saint. He was simply not allowed to think. This was a question that was directly driven by instinct. And in the same way, when I saw this man appear on this battlefield, that golem Megiddo, he also used his terrifying voice to point to Luo Hao in front of him and said, ordinary human beings, I advise you to leave this place as soon as possible. This is not a battle you can interfere in. But if you insist on doing it for Wang Kun under my hands, I'm not too suggestive. Very wanted. He also felt a little unhappy about this strange man who suddenly appeared on the battlefield, the golem Megiddo at this moment. But in his eyes, he was just an ordinary man. That's nothing to be afraid of because it's just a mere human being. Only Luo Hao at this time. He didn't have the heart to pay attention to the words of the golem Megiddo. Listening to the words of the Kamen Rider holy blade behind him. At this moment, Luo Hao also turned slightly sideways and glanced at the Kamen Rider sacred blade behind him. He was the one who spoke slowly in his deep, hoarse, majestic voice. Who am I? Maybe it doesn't matter that much, but it looks like you are having a hard time dealing with this guy. Taking this opportunity, I also came to exercise my muscles and bones a little. With Luo Hao's voice just fell, immediately. He has already pressed the button of the Time King dial in his right hand. The sound is on, immediately. At this time, he had already installed the Time King dial in his hand on the right side of the time-space drive at his waist. Henshin, one order. Luo Hao, he has already turned the spacetime drive around his waist 360 degrees. In an instant, a Kamen Rider who was covered in silver and black appeared in everyone's field of vision. He is the last Kamen Rider in Heisei and the most powerful being in the history of Kamen Rider. With the powerful ability to control time arbitrarily, the King of Time. Kamen Rider Time King, and looking at the Kamen Rider Tokyo who suddenly appeared in his field of vision. Immediately, at this time the Kamen Rider Holy Blade, he also said with a slightly trembling voice, Kamen Rider Time King, what kind of existence is this? It can also be clearly heard from the words of Kamen Rider Sacred Blade. At this moment he was full of curiosity and shock about the knight who suddenly appeared in front of him, although the battle has not yet started, but he could already clearly feel the terrifying strength from the knight's body, and the same was shocked at this time. But it's not just Kamen Rider Sacred Blade. In another corner of the city, the Shindo Rentaro at this moment, when he saw the appearance of Kamen Rider Shiweng. Similarly, he also showed a very surprised expression. Then he was also extremely surprised. Impossible, the Sword of Truth has never seen such a Kamen Rider. And he didn't have a holy sword in his hand either. Without the holy sword, it is absolutely impossible to become a swordsman, and it is impossible to become a Kamen Rider. Obviously, Shindo Rentaro at this time, he was extremely distrustful of what was happening in front of his eyes, because according to common sense, it is impossible to become a Kamen Rider without the Sword of Truth, but the Kamen Rider Tokyo who appeared in the public eye. Even without the Holy Sword, he can still become a Kamen Rider. This kind of thing, according to common sense, is impossible to happen. Therefore, in this era of Shindo Rentaro, he felt extremely surprised and incredible. It's just that at this time, the right hand of the Holy Sword driver that he was holding tightly was also released at this time. Because at this time, he seemed to be very clear and realized a fact. That is, this battle may have no chance for him to shoot. Who is this man? The golem Megiddo looked at the mysterious man who appeared in front of him with a solemn expression. Under his powerful pressure, he first trembled. Compared with this powerful force, the red figure on the side is not a heavyweight at all. But then I realized that I can only win when others are unprepared. Facing this powerful guy, there is absolutely no chance of winning. Seeing that the guy on the opposite side didn't seem to have any defenses, he took advantage of this time to give a firm grip. I saw that he didn't have any extra movements. Under his thoughts, the rock and soil formed a gripping movement, locking the opponent firmly. Okay, it's done. Seeing that the other party had no defense against his restraint, the golem Megiddo smiled. As long as the opponent is under his control, the next step is to use only basic attacks to kill him. The holy blade was stunned by the side, thinking how powerful this mysterious man was, but he didn't expect to be imprisoned and stayed in place unable to move. Then, I saw the hand of the golem Megiddo leaping high towards the air. And this scene in this world is actually like a book, and all the countless scenes are constrained by the scope of a book. And the book was under the control of both hands, and the whole city was like a page of paper folded in half, and when it reached the high-rise buildings, it passed directly through their bodies. Then, without waiting for the holy blade to react, the surrounding has become a world made of clay. What is this power? I saw the golem Megiddo sneer. Everything has already started, give up the struggle. Under his control, the entire piece of soil spread out of sight. You must know that your own strength can control the soil, and under your own mind power, the more soil and stones around you, the stronger your combat effectiveness will be. Is this your hidden move? Luo Hao looked at Megiddo, the golem who was smugly laughing in the distance, and smiled. Just let you see what you see, that's the real power. What? Later, he was surprised to find that the guy who claimed to be the king of the devil's time was actually unscathed. Is this the power of the demon king? I saw that he was attacking again, but the other party just stood there and did not move. Afterwards, I saw that he didn't even show any signs of making moves, and there were no fluctuations in his strength, and he easily broke free from the restrictions set by the opponent with all his strength. 0. Ask for flowers. After observing for a long time, I didn't find any sign of him making a move. Under the attack of his own strength, he didn't even leave a trace on the opponent's body. Under the powerful offensive, the holy blade was quickly defeated. Damn it. Although he could easily resist the attack of the golem Megiddo, he didn't expect that this guy called the King of Demons would be able to resist without even a single movement. Thank you for reading this story at FictionZone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Shindo Rentaro watched the battle secretly from a distance, thinking to himself, seeking completeness, order, seek follow-up, order, seek support. Today's first update, I beg all readers' fathers. The golem Megiddo burst out all his thought power, and all the clay was summoned by him, and flew towards the king of the holy blade, meeting the devil not far away. He secretly observed the mysterious man who appeared. Although the aura is very strong, I don't know what his attack power is. What kind of role is this? This kind of power is just too boring. I saw Luo Hao easily leaned forward again and took a half step. The originally constructed scene like a realm collapsed instantly, and under his thoughts, the pages of this book were easily turned back. Let you see what real power is. The voice was majestic and magnetic. What? The holy blade looked at the mysterious powerhouse next to him who was intact, 487, and couldn't help but be surprised. He was attacked by the devil in front of him at the same time as him. Although others didn't know it, he was extremely clear about the strength of the attack. I saw that the king did not hesitate to meet the devil, and in just a moment, he reached the back of the golem Megiddo at a speed that was difficult for humans to detect. Feeling a powerful breath suddenly burst out from behind, the golem Megiddo was immediately startled. Hell has not waited for him to react. A black lightning pierced the air, and the powerful force directly smashed it into countless fragments. At this moment, the holy blade and Shindo Terolun, who were not far away, were stunned in place, because the scene in front of him was too shocking. This mysterious powerhouse, without any hesitation, flashed behind the opponent before he could react. After that, it was just an ordinary punch, and the golem Majira, who might have to fight for a long time to defeat, was directly blown up. Who is this guy? Shindo Rintaro expressed his shock. It is not that such an opponent has not been encountered before, but it is the first time that I have seen such an easy way to eliminate the enemy. But that's all, it's not enough for me to warm up. Luo Hao eased his shoulders slightly. It was solved with one punch. Although it was expected, it still felt boring. At this moment, the broken body of the golem Megiddo reappeared, but the enthusiastic attitude and expression that he wanted to try has now turned into an incomparable panic and panic. Who is this guy? The feeling of death just now is still vivid in my mind, and the intense pain makes these few seconds seem to be more difficult than years. Oh, isn't he dead yet? Luo Hao smiled slightly. It's not that Sheng doesn't want to help, but the huge shock has made him stunned in place. What kind of monster is this? Then, the golem Megiddo looked at the uninvited guest in front of him. Intense panic had overwhelmed his desire to control the world. He summoned his alternative driving book and immediately wanted to retreat and escape. I saw Shiwang moved slightly. Want to run away? Then, just as the pages were about to be turned, the world suddenly fell silent. I saw the golem Megiddo looking at his waist in astonishment. His alternative driving book is originally there. As long as the alternative driving book is there, no matter how many times he dies, he can be resurrected. However, now, it has been completely penetrated and turned into an empty space. And not far away, a dazzling golden hand was playing with that thing at this time. 2-6 Is this an alternative driving book? The king smiled when he met the devil, and then, with a firm grip, the storybook instantly shattered. And the golem Megiddo in front of him also disappeared. What? Seeing that this guy in front of him could destroy this thing with his bare hands, Sheng Mo was once again shocked. Shindo Rentaro did not hesitate. No matter who the mysterious powerhouse in front of him is, there is one fact that cannot be denied. That is, Shenshin Feiyu really got a new holy sword of flame. That is a long-lost treasure, but today it was actually presented in the hands of a strange young man. However, according to common sense, this is simply an impossible thing. How could holy sword appear in the hands of someone who has nothing to do with the sword of truth? And what made Shindo Rintaro even more concerned was that why this man is holding the Dragon of Courage fantasy driving book in his hand. According to common sense, this is an impossible thing at all. 101 Rentaro Shindo at this time he thinks so, and not only that, but at this time Shindo Rentaro, he was very concerned about the unknown powerhouse who suddenly appeared here. He also felt quite concerned and curious. After all, even without the holy sword, he was still able to successfully incarnate into a Kamen rider. This is also a very abnormal thing, however, for this mysterious powerhouse. I have seen his powerful strength just now, and I also understand that he cannot be underestimated. Shindo Taro Lun hesitated for a moment, but he heard a strong and powerful voice calling. I saw Luo Hao at this time, he said very indifferently. Come out, don't hide. I saw exactly what the powerful, mysterious man said. Has it been found? It turned out to be discovered for himself. At this time, Shindo Taro Lun was also a little helpless. However, this powerhouse is indeed very sharp, somewhat helpless. At this time, Shindo Rentaro had to give in and walked out. I didn't watch it carefully just now, and I only discovered it when I came out now. The other party is actually so domineering, and there is also a majestic aura around him. Simply outrageously powerful. Looking at the mysterious man in front of him, although his whole body is golden, but it doesn't have that earthy texture. On the contrary, it is a symbol of majesty and dignity. Please complete the subscription, please follow the subscription, please support today's first update, please readers fathers. Thank you for reading this story at Fiction Zone. Net, your support enables us to keep the site running. The other party had already opened the magical book, and the next door of space appeared instantly. At this moment, Luo Hao smiled. There is absolutely no chance of him surviving. I saw that after the door was opened, it seemed to contain the entire universe and the world behind the door. At this moment, Shindo Rentaro, he is very firm in his own idea. Only at this moment. At this time, Shenshin Feiyuzhen showed a puzzled expression. If the other party is really malicious, what is the headquarters? And looking at Shindo Taro Lun who appeared here, looking at his expression, it seems to lead to an unknown place extending infinitely far away. Shindo Taro Lun felt the breath of the other party, and after confirming that there was no malicious intent, he breathed a sigh of relief. No need to hide anything, take me to your headquarters and let me see 487 and see what the power of Kamen Rider in this world is like. Shindo Rantaro was shocked. Didn't he expect that the other party had predicted the existence of the headquarters in advance? I don't know how he can transform without using the holy sword. I haven't waited for Shenshin Feiyu to really react. So miraculous. Kamiyama Feiyu really did not expect that Kamen Rider would actually have a headquarters-like existence. I saw that the armor around the strong man dissipated, and the face under the armor surprised the two. Just now because of the battle, I didn't watch it carefully. I didn't expect this mysterious powerhouse to be so young. Subsequently, they passed through the tunnel, and at the end of the tunnel there was like a library. And this library is very mysterious, and the names of the books on it are also written in strange characters. Kamiyama Feiyu really sighed at the subtlety here, while Shindo Rentaro was a little proud. You must know that what is contained here is the knowledge summed up by the holders of the holy swords of all dynasties. Ordinary people can't get here at all, and the things contained in it are like endless treasures. Luo Hao smiled and nodded. The collection here is pretty good. Shindo Taro Lun looked at this strong man and couldn't help feeling emotional. He didn't expect that such a rich collection could only be considered good in his eyes. The reverence for this strong man in his heart has risen even more. At this moment, the books that originally seemed to be empty were blocked. Sudden. As if under the control of some organ, it was easily opened to both sides. And one person appeared, and her appearance was indeed different from the others. For the first time, I am the guardian of the Book of Truth, Sophia, the master of the Holy Sword welcomes you. However, when she saw Luo Hao beside her, she had a strange look on her face. Because the only people who have been able to enter here in the past dynasties are the holders of the Holy Sword. How could this guy come here without a holy sword on his body? However, seeing Shindo Taro Lun's respectful eyes towards this man, he did not act rashly. You are, just call me the king of the devil. Luo Hao didn't say much, he just felt troublesome for this kind of boring communication. Is it also the power of truth? Sophia felt that the other party was not malicious at all and nodded slightly. We are the legendary and mysterious northern base located in the North Pole. What, the North Pole? Shenshin Feiyu was really surprised. He didn't expect that in a desolate place like the Arctic there are still human beings and they have also created a base. Wrong. I was still in the island country just now, but after only taking those 2 steps, can I actually come to the North Pole through the passage? Shenshin Feiyu couldn't help feeling astonished. He didn't expect that the strength of the existence in this base was so strong. It seems to be careful. Looking at Kamiyama Feiyu in front of her, she was really surprised. Rentaro Shindo was not surprised. The first time I came here, when I heard the news, my expression was similar to his. We here and the swordsmen who have been the holders of the Holy Blade for the past few years. Let's guard the book of creation of this world together and keep the balance of the whole world. Can you talk to this guy about that? Shindo Rantaro glanced suspiciously at the mysterious person next to him and Kamiya Feiyu who had just entered here. You must know that the existence of the book of creation cannot be leaked out casually. If you are caught by those evil ways of existence outside, it is very likely that there will be problems. Sophia nodded slightly. Naturally, it is possible. She has already felt that the Book of Creation has a real affinity for Shenshin Feiyu. However, I don't know why, when the existence next to him called the King of Demons appeared, the Book of Creation actually appeared, trembling slightly. As if afraid of something. What's the matter with this guy called the King of Demons? Sophia was feeling his breath and suddenly felt a collision of souls making her dizzy. It's not a friendly behavior to explore other people's privacy at will, and this is not an example. What? Sophia felt the majestic voice coming from her mind and couldn't help but froze. Didn't you expect the opponent's power to be so powerful? A mighty book and holy sword. Shenshin Feiyu was really confused for a while, followed by surprise. Isn't that what you said about yourself? I saw Sophia nodded slightly. Yes, after the review of the Holy Sword and the selection of the Holy Sword by the Book of Truth, Mokayan Zhao, the Holy Sword chose you as his master and made you qualified to become a Kamen Rider character. Looking at this new Kamen Rider, Shindo Rintaro still felt a little hard to trust. Kamen Rider? Shenshin Feiyu really nodded slightly. He took out the Holy Sword that belonged to him, and looking at the red body of the sword, he seemed to be thinking, and after pondering for a while, he finally made up his mind. Then what should I do? Our war has its origins in ancient times, and it will continue forever and ever, so just follow your heart. Shenshin Feiyu really seemed to be thoughtful listening to her words, but Luo Hao smiled faintly. A real strong man should obey his own heart, and he quite agrees with this kind of rule. I saw Shenshin Feiyu really thinking for a while and suddenly became curious. He couldn't help thinking of the guy who attacked him, actually possessing such a powerful power. Who is the person who takes the city to another world? Kamiyama Feiyu was really curious. That's the traitor among our swordsmen, Wang Jian, and several monsters, Megiddo. They attacked us 15 years ago and took most of the 487's fantasy drive. Shindo Rentaro fell into contemplation and felt a burst of pain. He remembered the fallen comrade in arms, then he continued. In that, many of our swordsmen died in their hands. But we still won't back down because this is our mission. We have to guard the Book of Truth and maintain the balance of the world. That's who we are. Is this the mission of Kamen Rider? Shenshin Feiyu is really thoughtful. Only Luo Hao smiled. The mission or something was quite interesting. At this moment, inside a wooden hut, the house was filled with the warm glow of the fire. It is easy to see from the glass that it is a Gothic building, but the people inside are full of gloomy air. I saw a man there writing quickly, as if he was writing something. And his power is constantly flowing, and the words written by the pen below are also very mysterious. I saw that the power of their whole body became very evil and strange, and the person at the head was also a swordsman, a Cayman rider who transformed from the holy sword. The new magic modification drive book will be completed soon. Everyone in the house knew what this sentence meant, and they only smiled uninhibitedly. And the mysterious Cayman rider headed by him would definitely exclaim if Shindo Rentaro saw it. Because that Cayman rider is the biggest traitor among the swordsmen, Wang Jian. Not long after the time passed, Jinshin Feiyu really looked at the world in front of him as if thinking about something. Luo Hao had already seen through everything and knew exactly what he was thinking. Looking at the two in front of him, Shindo Rentaro also walked out. He looked at the huge books that fell in the city, still covering a large area, and he also understood the idea of the mountain. In this, there are still many people in the world who are not saved. Kamiyama looked at Shindo Rentaro. Since it is necessary to maintain the order and balance of this world, naturally it cannot only maintain a small part of the Book of Truth. As a Cayman rider, you should protect the weak. And in the world under the book, it has become a chaotic world that has completely collapsed. The later you go, the more serious the problem will be and more people will be killed. After hearing his thoughts, Shindo Rentaro nodded slightly. Then what are you going to do? I'm going to the area covered by that huge book to save everyone in another unreasonable world. I am a little bit interested in this matter. For the rescue of those civilians, just leave it to these ordinary Cayman riders, and if you travel to the books of another world, you can understand more about the rules of this world. Luo Hao has a new understanding of power since he came to this world. Combined with the power and special props of the King of Demons, it is even more powerful. Shindo Rentaro nodded slightly, and now he has begun to appreciate him more and more for this newly added Cayman rider. I didn't expect to realize the true meaning of swordsman so quickly. I saw that he was at this time, he said immediately. Very well, then there will be no problem, I'm going with you. What do you think of this mysterious powerhouse who claims to be the king of the devil's time? Luo Hao looked at Rentaro Shindo, who was asking himself, and nodded slightly. Okay, I just want to warm up recently, so let me see the power and rules of this world. The two of them felt the breath of this mysterious powerhouse leaking out, and they couldn't help feeling frightened. Where is it sacred and why is it so powerful? I saw the two of them standing under the huge book, and the city was in another world, connected by some wonderful power generated by this book. No, the more time delays, the more people will encounter danger. Shindo Rentaro nodded slightly. Then let's use the power of the Holy Sword and travel to that world with the book. Looking at the mysterious powerhouse, he was slightly taken aback. Senior, if you want to go with us, let's borrow the power of our Holy Sword first. Although the opponent is strong, but seeing that he does not have a holy sword, which means that he did not open the door with the help of a book. No need, Luo Hao smiled slightly. With the powerful power of his own law of causality, he has faintly felt the existence of that world. He saw that with a single stroke of his hand, a door of space appeared in front of him in an instant, and the space behind was exactly that world. How can you feel the existence of that world without relying on the power of the holy sword and the book? This is something that even the most powerful swordsman cannot do. Shindo Rentaro was sluggish for a while. He didn't expect the opponent's strength to be so perverted. As soon as the young man thought about it, the belt appeared on his body. Then the ground couldn't bear the powerful pressure, and the magma jumped out, and then the clock circled around him. It was the king of the devil. Although they had already seen each other, the two of them couldn't help feeling this powerful aura. Okay, since this mysterious powerhouse senior has also entered, it's time for us to leave. Zero, ask for flowers. I saw Rentaro Shindo waved his holy sword in front of him, and a wonderful book appeared in front of him. But at this time the book door was closed, so I had to take him first. The way it landed was very unique. Sacred mountain, I'm going to. Can I enter that world with the holy sword? Kamiyama Feiyu asked curiously. Luo Hao smiled slightly. Just when the two of them didn't know what to say, suddenly a joyful and slightly crazy voice sounded. Seeking completeness, order, seek follow-up, order, seek support. Today's first update, please readers' fathers. Just when the two were about to respond and ease their embarrassment, they discovered that the world has taken on a strange appearance. Shindo Rentaro was at a loss for words for a while, and then he faltered and slurred. Then before they could react, they broke into the world of books, but the mysterious man had broken his common sense. After all, logically speaking, it should be like this. Shindo Taro Lun rubbed his knee that hurt. I saw that figure riding a bicycle and attacking the two of them. The situation will get worse if it goes on like this. Looking at the world that was gradually collapsing, Shindo Rentaro's heart moved slightly. At this moment, a green light suddenly flashed over, and it flew straight towards the Shenshin Feiyu on the side. Seeing the green light shining, Shenshin Feiyu really tried to dodge beside him and finally managed to dodge the opponent's attack. I saw that the green light had stagnated and then hit the stone pillar on the side. Immediately, a burst of fierce green color appeared and the thick green mist emitted a disgusting aura. Why is this guy's attack so corrosive? Shenshin Feiyu looked at the strange man in front of him with a solemn expression and did not know when he appeared. Luo Hao smiled lightly when he looked at the strange person who appeared. Are the visions of this world caused by these guys? It's kinda interesting. It just so happens that I'm also bored at this time. Why don't I take you to practice my hands? I only saw this strange person in front of me and looked at this noble guy with a solemn expression. Who is this guy? Why doesn't he have the presence of the holy sword? The leader of the dark forces who was secretly observing all this, Wang Jian, looked at this mysterious powerhouse, and his face couldn't help but look solemn. Because the other party is only a small part of the breath, it has already made him feel a very heavy and fearful feeling. Why do I vaguely sense a taste of truth from him? Even the guy who made the Magic Transformation Drive book, when he saw him through the power of Wang Jian, couldn't help but feel scared. It seems that when the time comes, we must consider this guy first. At this time, the battle in the book has not yet begun, but in terms of momentum, it seems that the outcome has already been decided. Shindo Rentaro was originally going to take this opportunity to demonstrate how to fight to the newly joined Kamen Rider, and build his prestige by the way. Unexpectedly, he was actually robbed of the place, but considering the powerful aura on the other side, he didn't care about anything at this time. At this moment, when Shenshin Feiyu was really ready to watch the battle with peace of mind and learn the fighting style of the strong, a vision suddenly occurred. I saw a lot of ordinary citizens still trapped in the library on the side, and they were struggling to beat the glass of the library. What? There are actually quite a few ordinary citizens trapped there. And more importantly, just by the library, another weird person appeared. Look at ordinary residents in deep crisis. When he thought of the meaning of the swordsman he just realized not long ago, Kamenyama Feiyu didn't hesitate and immediately chose to transform into a Kamen Rider. Shindo Taro Lun did not hesitate and immediately took out his holy sword, Henshin. I saw that the book seemed to be a world of its own, and I began to read it. It recorded the heroic deeds of the holders of the holy sword in the past. Then the surging blue body appeared in place, as if possessing the powerful power of the ocean. Kamen Rider blades officially appear. I saw that he repelled the monster he was facing with one blow, and Saber was not to be outdone, moving the holy sword around his waist, inspiring all his strength. I saw the holy sword of flame in my hand blazing, and then slashed towards the opponent. I saw that the strange man flexibly avoided the opponent's attack, but was scalded by the flame on the sword. At this moment, a powerful fluctuation of power appeared. What? Severe pain hit their minds, making them feel extremely painful. I saw that the two of them and the monster who were fighting jumped to the side of the monster, who was confronting the king of the demon age. At this time, Yi, who came in with her, did not have the power of the holy sword, so she couldn't resist the powerful fluctuation because the severe pain caused her to faint. Mission almost completed. Let's go now, buddy. Kamiyama Feiyu really wanted to take care of his friend, but he was in the middle of a battle. How could he be distracted? I saw that he immediately chased after the two weirdos who wanted to escape, but at this moment, a powerful fluctuation of power shocked him to the spot. What is this for? Looking at the Demon King, Blade suddenly reacted. Don't let those two damn it guys get away. Luo Hao smiled slightly. I saw him throw a punch from the air and the powerful force suddenly reached. Ha ha ha, stupid humans just watch the world in this book and never recover. Just as the two eccentrics were about to fly away, a powerful aura suddenly burst out, causing them to feel stunned for a while. What is this? Before they could react, Luo Hao's powerful force had already hit their bodies. Not good. Wang Jian, who had been planning to hide in the dark to watch the battle, saw this situation and immediately shot hard, trying to resist his blow. Then the three of them roared and flew backwards. This is Wang Jian. Nutang Rentaro looked at the Kamen Rider lying on the ground in astonishment, but he didn't expect the other party to hide here all the time. No, let's retreat quickly. The powerful force just now made him feel extremely horrified. You must know that just to resist the opponent's ordinary blow, you have already exhausted all your strength. In a flash, the three of them left here. I saw that the world is gradually collapsing, becoming more and more chaotic and more unreasonable. Looking at the three who left, Shindo Rintaro couldn't stop it at all. Wang Jian gritted his teeth fiercely, driving his holy sword Manos, squeezing his last potential. But then he felt something was wrong. But then he was even more astonished. Originally, I thought that the King of Demons would only show such a powerful power when facing ordinary weirdos. But I didn't expect that this mysterious powerhouse would still be destructive when facing a powerful betrayal like Wang Jian. Luo Hao smiled slightly. Is this the power of the Demon King? I saw him walking forward slowly, and every step he took, his breath became stronger and stronger. Shenshin Feiyu was really stunned. Therefore, his upper limit may be stronger than he imagined. Afterwards, the three were seriously injured. What? Didn't you use your full strength just now? As long as the magical drive book is completed, the world in this book will no longer be able to be saved. Kamiyama Feiyu really repeated what Megiddo told him just now, couldn't help but burst into anger. What a pity, why didn't they catch those two guys on the spot? However, Shindo Taro Lun looked at the mysterious powerhouse beside him thoughtfully. This guy seems to be powerful beyond his cognition. 490, no, we have to find a breakthrough to break the situation in this world sooner. At this moment, Ye Yi, who was beside her, fainted due to the severe pain from the strange attack just now. What's the situation? Shenshin Feiyuzhen looked at Ye Yi, who suddenly fell to the ground and was at a loss. I saw Luo Hao calmly walked in front of her and felt her breath. This guy still has a breath, there should be no problem. I saw that he was interested by chance. It's just the usual little questions. Luo Hao stretched out his hand and waved, and a strange power fluctuation appeared. Megiddo, who had already been hit by Megiddo's attack, seemed to be affected by something. The body actually twisted up and then returned to normal. She stroked her head and the pain had dissipated by this time. Where am I? Seeing that she was fine, the two Kamen riders beside her breathed a sigh of relief. I didn't expect that this powerhouse would actually have the skills of the healing department. What they won't know is that Luo Hao isn't using healing skills at all. It is the ultimate ability of the second-order Shiking, turning back time. Looking at the situation in front of him, Blades sighed. No, we always take an ordinary person out to wander and there is a problem. Shindo Rentaro felt very troublesome. It seems that we have to go back first. We must settle Ye first. We will discuss the countermeasures at that time. Shindo Rentaro originally wanted to get rid of all the monsters and Megiddo in the book in one fell swoop. What is their purpose? Shindo Rintaro naturally knew what the 4 words of the Book of Truth meant, and that was the origin of the world. Kamiyama Feiyu was really curious. After the two settled down to Ye in the northern base, they sighed slightly. Please complete the subscription, please follow the subscription, please support today's first update, please readers' fathers. It's simple. No, we can't wait like this any longer. Okay, let's go back first. Shenshin Feiyu really wanted to invite the king of the time of the devil, but when he saw it, he just waved his hand, and then his figure disappeared. I saw that he took out his holy sword, summoned it out, and traveled through the gate of time and space. I saw Sophia ran out at this time. From what you said, I probably know what the other party's purpose is. Didn't expect this to happen. Seeing that mysterious powerhouse was there, Sophia felt hesitant for a while, but then decided to tell the truth. You must know, listen to the other party's meaning. The magic drive book will be completed soon, and once it is completed, that world will never be able to recover. What does the other party actually want to master the Book of Truth? As long as the other party completes the magic drive too. 6th book, they can fill part of the vacancy in the Book of Truth, and then they can master the power of the Book of Truth. And Shenshin Feiyuzhen understands the meaning of it after these days of passive science. No, it looks like we have to leave soon. Sophia looked at this reckless new swordsman and sighed. Brave and reckless are worlds apart, don't make a big mistake because of a momentary impulse. Sophia knows that the other party dares to be so presumptuous and acts in the world of this book. I am afraid there is someone behind it. If the swordsman goes, I'm afraid his life will be lost. Luo Hao smiled lightly. If only this level would be life-threatening, their strength would be too weak. They say the world can't be restored as long as the book is finished, which is to say, just beat them before the book is finished. Sophia was about to stop her, but Feiyu Jinshin ignored her. Beyond enlightenment, you can see hope. Hearing what he said, Sophia was suddenly startled. Why does this sentence sound so familiar? Then she reacted. This sentence is. I saw that the voice had not fallen, and the mechanism on the side seemed to be inspired by something, and it started to operate. After that, Feiyu Shenshin felt a wonderful intimacy from the props in the spectacle. What is this? Sophia heard what he just said and understood that it was this book that recognized him. This book is for you, Kamen Rider Sacred Blade. Use the power in it to save the world in the book. I saw that they were ready and set off immediately. And Luo Hao smiled faintly. I saw Shenshin Feiyu really brushing the book on the holy sword, and then a burst of flames flickered, and a red motorcycle full of flames appeared in front of him. Not to be outdone, Shindo Rentaro summoned his own vehicle. I saw that although his vehicle did not have extremely strong water attribute power, it was enough to see that this vehicle could effectively overcome the fear of insufficient firepower. Because it was just a simple front, several Gatlings were installed. Looking at the person who relies on the power of foreign objects, Luo Hao smiled lightly. It's just a power that doesn't belong to one's own, it's just a little trick. The two locked in the depths of this world and quickly drove there. Luo Hao smiled faintly, and after a flash his figure disappeared. When the two had arrived, they found a scene that shocked them. The one who saw the noble and powerful figure had already arrived one step ahead of them. And the ground is full of demonized ants, there are hundreds of them. I didn't expect them to be ready to ambush us in advance. Shindo Rintaro felt a little stunned. You must know that with such a large number, even if you match yourself, it is very likely that you will be trapped in it and will not be able to come out. But on his way here on his Gatling motorcycle, the other party not only arrived faster than himself, but also directly eliminated this hidden danger. I saw the other side smile faintly. Not enough for me to warm up. 490. This drive book is of no use to me, so I'll give it to you. I saw Luo Hao took out what he had found on the body of a monster he had just killed and threw it to the two of them. The two caught it in a hurry, and Shindo Rantaro felt the power in the book and his face changed. Is such a powerful power directly gifted to us? Luo Hao smiled lightly. Mighty power, you say so. I saw that Shindo Rentaro carved a line on the holy sword in order to test the power of this drive book. Then a blow hit the ground, and the sky-reaching vines instantly grew. Zyoji and the magic beans, is this the energy of this magical drive book? Shenshin Feiyu looked at the magic drive book in his hand curiously. In an instant, a sky-high vine can be catalyzed. I didn't expect such a small book to have such a powerful force. I saw Shindo Rentaro nodded slightly. That's the power of this magic drive book, but the magic drive book can still be so useful. I saw him swipe the magic drive book across his blade. Then a strange wave of power rippled out, aiming at the weirdo who was floating in the air in front of him. Is this guy manipulating the queen? I saw that he aimed at the opponent, and the powerful force was instantly launched, hitting the opponent directly. However, such power alone is not enough to kill the opponent. 490 only see each other. However, he took a full-strength blow, but at this time there was still energy left, and he continued to float in midair. It can be seen that he did not suffer much damage. Luo Hao's eyes moved slightly. With extremely fast speed and the buffs in the book, and then avoid the vast majority of damage. The devil looked at the terrifying person in front of him and wanted to sneer. But when I think about it, he easily got rid of the queen not long ago. Can't help but feel terrified of his terrifying power. Whatever, just wait to be part of this Abki book. He looked at the noble figure next to him, and when he spoke, he was somewhat emboldened. Oh, it's quite confident to say that. Seeing him move his body slightly, he scared the other party to death. What exactly do you want to do? Luo Hao smiled slightly. It's nothing, I just want to warm up with you. I saw that he held it casually, and the convenience was attacked in his direction. Then he threw a punch with all his strength, directly smashing the opponent completely. What exactly is this power? Although Kamiyama Feiyu and Shindo Rentaro have become accustomed to each other's strength, it's not surprising for this kind of spike scene, but I'm still very curious about his origin. I saw Luo Hao flicked his hand, and the bloodstains fell off easily. In a secret bookstore far away at this time, Wang Jian had already returned from an injury, but with the power of the magic book, he quickly recovered his state. I remembered the mysterious Kamen Rider I met a few days ago. The transformation does not require the power of the Holy Sword, but only by means of another power that is independent of the Book of Truth. It's a mysterious and powerful existence. However, even if this is the case, then the plan to supplement the Book of Truth must be carried out at all times and cannot be stopped. So after saving the two weirdos, and after their injuries healed, I immediately sent them out. No matter how hard they begged and didn't want to face that powerful figure, they were all sent there in the end. Hope today will be good. Not long after the voice fell, the hand that was writing the Book of Magic Transformation suddenly stopped, and the whole room was silent for a while. That means the two weirdos are dead. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect the opposite side to be so powerful. However, in the world in the book, there should be no way to get here in a short time. I saw his faint smile, which was full of cruelty and insidious cunning. It seems that I can only speed up the progress of my plan first and send that guy to play again. He was playing with a broken magic drive book in his hand, but it didn't take long for a small part to be repaired. This kind of power is not bad. I saw the golem Megiddo, who had already been defeated by the king of demons, appeared in front of him. As long as the book is not damaged, can it be resurrected infinitely? Wang Jian issued a new order. Just use you to consume them. Kamiyama Feiyu and Shindo Taro Lun witnessed this mysterious strong senior defeating the eccentric. Also got the magic drive book from him, but for the world in that book, there is still no way. The world is getting damaged day by day. But what they can do now is to go inside from time to time to check for some clues and wait for the appearance of the mastermind behind the scenes. In this way, several days after the battle was over, they were preparing to go out again today. Luo Hao suddenly felt an unfamiliar aura and was approaching here. A new character, kind of interesting. I saw him calmly, looking at the three people who were laughing and playing in front of him. Before setting off, Mei brings chocolate cookies to the three of them. Shindo Rentaro looked at the cookies in the box and drooled with emotion. But his heart always reminded himself to maintain a good figure and not eat these junk food. However, he felt that adding sugar could make his mind more agile, so he hesitated for a long time between eating and not eating. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared and greeted several people in the room. It was no surprise that he saw Rentaro Shindo and he greeted him. Then he looked at the mysterious powerhouse beside him. How can this guy have a vague and very terrifying aura? For the strength of the other party, he felt his own awe of his strength. He quickly turned his head, not daring to look at this person here. Afterwards, he said hello to Shenshin Feiyuzhen next to him. Hello, Kamiyama Feiyu is really puzzled. Do we know each other? However, the other party came together very naturally. Don't you remember me? We used to play together when we were kids. Kamiyama Feiyu was really moved and then asked Shindo Rintaro next to him. Thinking of the scenes where they used to play together when they were young, Feiyu Kamiyama immediately turned into chatter. How did you know him? I think you both seem to know him very well. He muttered to himself in a low voice as if there were other secrets. I saw Shindo Rentaro smiled. The sage is also a member of our Sword of Truth organization, so we are colleagues. Of course I know him. Seeing that he made the iconic move, Kamiya Feiyuzhen recognized him immediately. At this time, the sage fell into deep thought. Shenshin Feiyu really nodded slightly. Today's first update asked for a wave of subscriptions. I sincerely ask all readers. Zaya Puji needs your subscription support, so he's also a Kamen writer. Are you a sage? Long time no see. I miss you so much. Thank you for reading this story at Fiction Zone. Net, your support enables us to keep the site running. Ask for flowers. Just remember that the two of us played together. Sure enough, I forgot a lot. I think we used to play together a lot back then, but I didn't expect you to forget me. Luo Hao didn't take it seriously. Long before he entered the door, he felt the holy sword's power that fluctuated almost the same between him and the other two. On this day, the two went to the street to look for new clues, and by the way, look for them. The traitor among the swordsmen, the whereabouts of Wang Jian. Although the other party has been severely injured since the last time when the king shot at the devil, there has been no trace since then, as if he did not exist in this world. However, they knew that one day Wang Jian existed, the world would be more dangerous. The two were walking normally on the street when they suddenly discovered a strange phenomenon. 493. That is, the golem Megiddo is actually standing there. I saw that the two quickly discovered each other and the other party also discovered them. Is this the golem Megiddo? Why is he still alive? Isn't he already killed? Shindo Rentaro shook his head slightly. It's not like this. As long as the magic drive book is partially repaired, it can be resurrected without interruption. Since the last time the monster was defeated, the world has finally returned to its original state. Shenshin Feiyu really doesn't want to see this world destroyed by him. I saw him pulling out the holy sword in his arms, and just as he was about to shoot, a voice suddenly came over. The local tyrant swordsman. I saw a Kamen rider standing on the side of the road with a strong earth attribute on his body. He had already encountered his abilities. This is... Kamiyama Feiyu was really curious to ask. Shindo Rentaro shook his hand helplessly. This is also a member of our Sword of Truth, one of the most powerful swordsmen, Ryo Agami. I saw that the other party just pulled out his own knife and then tapped the belt around his waist. After a special sound effect, he slashed with a knife, and the golem Megiddo was instantly wiped out like the king of the devil. Dad, a child saw this scene and clapped his hands with excitement. I saw that Kamen rider looking at his child happily and proudly asked him if he was handsome. The child happily agreed. This is... Shindo Rentaro shook his head helplessly. He's a father at the same time, but it's hard for me to understand why he's taking his kids on the battlefield. I saw him turn around, look at the two behind him, and put the pieces carelessly. Rintaro Shindo, is this the swordsman of the holy sword you speak of? Come out, Sanjiao Fish King. At this moment, the hand holding the pen in the other room stopped again. I saw that after the devil heard this task, his eyes instantly lit up. You have to be careful, don't become the first victim just because of carelessness. Today's first update, ask for a wave of subscriptions. I sincerely ask all readers. Zaya Puji needs your subscription support. It's just a few little people. Look at me taking them as prey. He laughed disdainfully. Just rely on them, I'll let them see what real strength is. I saw the man smiled faintly. Seeing this man so proud, the other smiled and reminded him. As expected of you, even the golems who are destroyed can be so calm. He looked up and down and felt that this young man was too thin, and he didn't know what his fighting power was and what his character was like. 2-6, go and turn them all into sacrifices. I saw that he took out a magic drive book, and a Megiddo-like creature emerged from the book. Then, I saw him coming to the street, ready to make the next move. Let me turn them all into sacrifices for our new king. The four of them came to Maya's hut together. As soon as Agami Ryo entered the door, he found out that there was an extremely powerful person who was close to invincible in this shop. That young man, it's definitely not easy. I saw Liang De on the top of Luo Hao, who was clearly sitting in the corner. I saw that the other party sensed his gaze and cast a slight glance at him. In an instant, a powerful divine sense impacted him, causing him to feel a sharp pain in his head and immediately averted his gaze. This person's strength is terrifying. He is an existence that must not be provoked. In the first instant, he made the judgment of one. He introduced his son and his identity to Shindo Rentaro. Hello, my name is Ryo Agami, and I'm also a member of the Sword of Truth, which is my favorite weapon, the local tyrant sword. This is my son, his name is Zaya Olyang. Kamiyama Fei really saw that this Kamen rider was not only a swordsman, but also brought a child, and instantly became excited. What? A superhero wandering around with a child? My inspiration is coming, hurry hurry, I want paper and pen. He immediately leaned over the table beside him and started his own creation. Ryo Agami wondered if there was something wrong with this person. He suddenly seemed like a madman and said something to himself here. He is. Yi immediately came out to help him explain. He's a novelist and he usually writes part-time, so you can get used to it when you get used to it. Ryo Agami snorted, but looking at the person in front of him who seemed a little abnormal, he always felt that the holy sword was entrusted to such a person. Isn't it a little unreliable? At this moment, all of a sudden, the headquarters delivered a message to him. Headquarters called you to come. Ryo Agami was helpless, so he had to entrust the child to Mei first, and Rintaro Shindo followed him to the headquarters. As soon as Sophia saw Ryo Agami, she immediately offered her condolences cordially. Ryo Ao, the heroic swordsman of the Sword of Truth, how are you doing recently? How is the progress of Wang Jian's investigation? However, the holy sword is directly entrusted to that crazy madman. Is it really good for young people? Ryo Agami was stunned at first, and then he understood that the mysterious powerhouse he was talking about should be the mysterious man who looked at him. Mysterious, I've seen the powerhouse, it's really powerful, but there shouldn't be any malicious intent. For the record, the magic drive book he is using now was on him 15 years ago, but Ryo Agami didn't have any high hopes for that guy because he looked like a god. Don't blame yourself like this, although Wang Jian is. I saw Sophia shook her head. Seeing that he remembered that incident again, Sophia immediately comforted him. The sage added and then fell into silence. Today's first update, ask for a wave of subscriptions. I sincerely ask all readers. Zaya Puji needs your subscription support. I saw him shaking his head slightly. Sophia nodded. The result was exactly what she expected. He just forgot. The other party is hiding too secretly and there is no clue. Seeing this, Sophia had no choice but to shake her head. Thank you for reading this story at Fiction Zone. Net, your support enables us to keep the site running. Forget it, by the way, have you seen that mysterious powerhouse and the new holy swordsman? To be honest, if he had amnesia about the incident 15 years ago, it would be better than remembering it. At this moment, the king of pepper fish came to the street. Okay, let's pick out the people who will be sacrifices to the gods. With a wave of his hand, a huge book appeared in a forest, transporting him to another world. Then under his thoughts, countless small white books, which seemed to be very inconspicuous, appeared all over the world. Whoever holds the book is the chosen excellent sacrifice. It is noble to lay down his life for the birth of our king. Sanjiao Fishnet seemed to be possessed, secretly reciting his own words. Right at this moment, Shindo Rantaro looked at Kayama Feiyu in front of him and shook his head helplessly. This guy is so weird and always makes a bad first impression. Just by the strange words he just said, Agami Ryo will definitely make him feel that he is not a normal person. Luo Hao smiled lightly. This guy's next actions might be more confusing. After he finished listing the outline of his book, he realized that Ryo Agami was gone. Hey, what about the others? Just then he saw the little boy in front of him. A child, it feels really interesting to get along with simple children. He stepped forward quickly and looked at the little boy. Luo Hao smiled slightly. This agreed behavior is too stupid. Children, do you like reading books? Kamiyama Feiyu really walked towards the child with her novel. I saw the little boy looking at the complicated books and shaking his head. I don't like it, reading is really boring. When Shenshin Feiyu really heard this, she couldn't help feeling a blow. Then we agreed that we must read more books in the future. Shindo Taro Lun looked at the children in front of him with anticipation. Xiaoliang looked at the strange big brother in front of him, turned around and left without any reason. Then we make an agreement. Luo Hao looked at Shenshin Feiyuzhen, who seemed to be mentally retarded, and smiled playfully. This kind of guy can still be the protagonist of Kamen Rider. Yi sensed that there was a strange inconsistency and subtlety next, and immediately came up, laughing and rounding up the field. Xiaoliang, how about sister taking you out to buy chocolates? Today's first update, ask for a wave of subscriptions. I sincerely ask all readers. Xia Puji needs your subscription support. As soon as Xiaoliang heard that there was chocolate to eat, his eyes immediately lit up. Yi took the little boy out, leaving only the bitter-looking Shenshin Feiyuzhen. I don't know if he will remember my promise. Ao Mei took your son out to eat chocolate. I also told him that he must read books in the future. Where is my son? Okay, sister. At this moment, he was surprised to find that his son was missing. It was this stupid agreement that almost made Agami Ryo lose his son. Ryo Agami withdrew, ready to pick up his son and go with him. Good mano. Thank you for reading this story at Fiction Zone. Net, your support enables us to keep the site running. It's not that I don't know what happened 15 years ago, but for sages, it's definitely a forbidden area that can't be touched at will. Luo Hao smiled lightly. Luo Hao smiled lightly and didn't say much. Kamiyama Feiyuzhen immediately explained. He wouldn't really think that the other party took his agreement as one thing, would he? At this time, Ryo Agami looked at Sophia and her lover, who had become silent, and his straightforward temperament felt a bit suffocating. At this moment, Yi and Xiaoliang had come to the chocolate booth. You are here waiting for my sister to be late. Yi nodded when she saw the little bright spot, put him on the spot, and went to buy chocolate with peace of mind. What she didn't notice was that at this moment, a fantastic book had appeared on the bench behind her. If those swordsmen came to see it, they would definitely exclaim. Because those books are magic drive books. Xiaoliang waited hard and felt 10 minutes of boredom. He wanted to find a place to sit down and have a good rest. However, at this moment, he found the driving book on the bench behind him. This is the book. Although he was really not interested in losing, he remembered the words of Shenshin 493 Feiyuzhen and the peculiar shape of this book, and he picked up the book curiously. Ye had already bought the chocolate and walked back. At this moment, he also found the magical book in Xiaoliang's hand. Do not want. When she realized what her book was, she immediately exclaimed, but it's too late. I saw that after he opened the book, the figure disappeared instantly and was swallowed into another world, and then the magical drive book was closed and left in place. Damn it, how could something like this happen? Yi was helpless and had to go back to her hut. When she came back, Agami Ryo had been waiting for a long time. Luo Hao found out that the child was gone. Ryo Agami looked behind him for a long time but did not find his child. What's the situation? In an instant, this fact that he could not accept made his brain receive a violent shock. When I came back to my senses, he was already attracted to another world by this magical drive book. Ryo Ao slumped weakly on the ground, holding this magic drive book. Shenshin Feiyu really didn't expect it and was unwilling to accept this fact. After all, this kid made an agreement with himself. Ryo Agami did not hesitate in the slightest, suppressing the intense pain in his heart, and decided to leave immediately. Shindo Taro Lun was going to persuade him to make some preparations in advance, but looking at the anxious look of the other party, it seemed unlikely. At this moment, Shenshin Feiyu really stood up. No, I believe Xiaoliang will be fine because I made an agreement with him. Ryo Agami, don't worry, I'm sure he will come back. Hearing the other party's irresponsible remarks, Ryo Agami was annoyed. You said you won't find it if you don't look for it. Is that what you mean by the so-called agreement? Did you know how great the pain is for a parent? Damn it, dude. Shenshin Feiyu was really held tightly by his shoulders and there was no way to resist. Luo Hao smiled faintly. If that's the case, then you should leave together. He stood up and moved his body. Well, I can also warm up to warm up. Ryo Agami cast a grateful look at him and saw that he took out his holy sword, transformed into a Kamen Rider, and then opened the door to other worlds. Ryo Agami is more curious. How will this mysterious powerhouse transform? Luo Hao smiled slightly and buckled his belt. Then he transformed into the king of the time of the devil. A burst of surprise on the tail. What? You can transform into a Kamen Rider without using the holy sword. Seeing that Luo Hao, who successfully transformed into the king of the time with the demon driver, at this moment, the Uncle Ryo Agami showed a very surprised expression. After all, as a swordsman, he had been in the Sword of Truth organization for such a long time. He had never seen an existence that could transform into a Kamen Rider without relying on the power of the holy sword. For Agami Ryo's words at this moment, his actions are undoubtedly equivalent to violating common sense, which is simply an unreasonable thing. Normally, such a thing should not happen at all, and it is absolutely impossible. After all, the existence of Kamen Rider depends on the power of the holy sword to be born in this world. But this guy, he turned into a Kamen Rider without relying on the power of the holy sword. What an amazing thing. Unable to bear at this time, the tale was bright, and he also said with a slightly trembling voice, "It's really surprising that you, this guy, was able to complete it without relying on the power of the holy sword, and transformed into a Kamen Rider. If not, this is a real thing that happened when the committee discussed the matter in front of him, and he wanted to pinch his face to confirm whether such a thing was real. He suspected that he was a little bit dreaming." And listening to the words of Uncle Agami Ki behind him, at this time, the king of the time of the devil, he just shrugged his shoulders a little and said, "Today's first update, ask for a wave of subscriptions. I sincerely ask all readers. Zaya Puji needs your subscription support." Then, he took out another fantasy-driving book of Xuanwu mythology. And listening to the words spoken by the king of the time of the devil in front of him, Ryo Agami, who was originally very shocked, couldn't help but feel angry at this time. As soon as the voice of Uncle Agami Ryo fell, he had already taken down the local tyrant sword on his back. But even if we don't have the gap on the holy sword, the strength of the two of us is the same. There is an unchaseable, unreasonable gap. Damn it, you stinky boy. Don't think that you can be so arrogant if you can incarnate into a Kamen Rider. You just incarnate into a Kamen Rider without relying on the power of the holy sword. There is no need to brag about such a thing at all. For you, if you lose the holy sword, you may no longer be able to become a Kamen Rider, and you will lose most of your power. Henshin, thank you for reading this story at Fiction Zone. Net, your support enables us to keep the site running. Following his order, he pushed the switch on the holy sword. Just let you kid to see what is called a real Kamen Rider and what is called a real battle. A huge book fell from the sky and landed behind the uncle on the tail. But for us, as long as we still have thoughts in our hearts, we can incarnate into Kamen Riders at any time. It's our absolute difference. Then the book was opened, and a powerful force poured into the uncle of the great businessman, turning it into a complete set of armor. In an instant, the Kamen Rider Burster appeared on this battlefield. I saw this Kamen Rider at this time. He slightly moved his shoulders. It was as if he was boasting about his overwhelming strength and defense, but he has such self-confidence, and it is indeed a matter of course. After all, for him, possessing the special fantasy-driving book of learning the 493 myth, he is equivalent to having decisive defensive ability and strength, and it has always been proud of its own defense and attack capabilities. And seeing such a Kamen Rider appearing on this battlefield, at this moment, the King of Demons, he nodded slightly. He didn't think that the power of this Kamen Rider was so powerful. He was simply amazed by this guy, but he used the power of Xuanwu myth to make this thing happen. Not bad, this form seems to be a power with very obvious defensive capabilities. At this time, the King of Demons, he also praised the power of this guy a little. But in fact, according to the usual Luo Hao's behavior, he may not say such words at all. After all, only those who can truly be on an equal footing with him or second only to him can get his recognition. And obviously, he used Kamen Rider Buster here, and he couldn't do such a thing in power. But maybe it was because he stayed in the world of High School of Demons and Hackaniwa for a long time. Therefore, at this time, Luo Hao's personality has also undergone a slight change. At least he didn't despise him because of this guy's strength and not catching up with him. It's just that the Kamen Rider Buster at this time was a little displeased with the arrogant attitude of the king when he met the devil. After all, for Uncle Agami Ryo, he is an excellent swordsman of the older generation who has been fighting for decades. Now he was praised by a young man with such a gesture, but he couldn't catch any excitement, and even he felt very unhappy. Oh, how dare a stinky child be so arrogant? I saw the Kamen Rider Burster at this time. He strode forward, pushing away the King of Demons beside him with a little force. But just when he wanted to do this, he found that this Demon King, he actually didn't move. Even with such a powerful force, there is no way to push this guy away. Damn it, this kid, what kind of background is he? Somewhat helpless in the Kamen Rider Burster used here, he was also forced to 2-6 and gave up this idea. When he turned around, he turned his attention to Megiddo, the fish with peppers. This battle, it will be ended by Kamen Rider Buster. Drink. Along with the roar of the Kamen Rider Burster, he had already stepped forward, rushing towards the Sancho, the fish Megiddo, at a very fast speed. Although Kamen Rider is a heavy armored warrior. But if it is only used to deal with this Sanjiao fish Megiddo, it is already very enough. And the one facing him, the Kamen Rider Burster who was running towards him. At this moment, the mountain pepper fish Megiddo, he also did not do much action, as if he was stunned in place. And at this time, he frantically let out a strange laugh. He didn't seem to have expected that his own danger was approaching him. In the blink of an eye, the Kamen Rider Burster was already in front of Megiddo, the mountain pepper fish, and his speed was very fast. And at this time, he raised the great sword in his hand high and made a gesture of attacking. In the face of the Kamen Rider Burster at this time, Megiddo, he quickly raised his hands and made a defensive posture. He thought that this posture was enough to deal with that Kamen Rider's attack. However, when he saw the Demon King in the distance, he just shook his head after seeing such a scene. He wasn't sighing at the stupidity of that Sancho fish Megiddo. On the contrary, he was very disappointed by the stupidity of that Kamen Rider Burster. If we look at the combat experience and strength of this Kamen Rider Burster, he can really do it. After all, he is also a very mature and stable Kamen Rider with decades of combat experience. It's just that he doesn't seem to have enough IQ to deal with some monsters. After all, it was just like the heavy armor he was wearing that was full of strength and defense. He may not have been good at thinking about these questions in the first place. And at this time, the Kamen Rider Burster, he was so relaxed, after pushing the Sancho fish Megiddo into a desperate situation. In the blink of an eye, he had already fallen into a state of being at the end of the line. Thank you for reading this story at FictionZone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. The fight was a little easier than I thought it was in 497. The other party simply does not have any strength and opportunity to resist and defend. Soon there were wounds all over the body of the Sanjiao fish Megiddo. Well, it looks like that. At this level of opponents, there is absolutely no power to resist me. At this moment, the Kamen Rider B, he seemed to have no idea what the situation was. Bang. SHH, then this battle should be over. Today's first update, ask for a wave of subscriptions. I sincerely ask all readers. Zaya Puji needs your subscription support. The energy is fast, and at this time the big sword in the hands of the Kamen Rider Buser condensed. Following the Kamen Rider Burster's order, he immediately flipped the switch on the local tyrant sword in his hand. Soon, he also said very proudly. The sound effect sounded immediately at this time. After several attacks in a row, they had already hit the body of the mountain pepper with a lot of fish and rice. The disparity in strength is enormous. Breakout. Accompanied by the sound effect, the khaki energy immediately condensed in Kamen Rider Burster's two-handed great sword. After that, there was no hesitation in any sense. That Kamen Rider Burster, who was already a big sword clenched in both hands, launched the most violent attack towards the Sancho fish Megiddo in front of him. And just like what happened before, that Sanjiao fish Megiddo, it still just raised its hands in the most simple way to defend. How could this simple and crude method of sucking be able to stop Kamen Rider Burster from attacking so violently? Boom. In an instant, the big sword was so easy to call that Megiddo, the mountain pepper fish, into two. Powerful explosions and roars erupted immediately, and the mountain pepper fish Megiddo, he naturally disappeared from this world. Facing such a powerful attack by Kamen Rider Burster, he had no ability to resist at all. It's just that from the beginning, the monster seemed to have no desire to fight or resist this Kamen Rider at all. This is a very obvious thing. It's just that Kamen Rider Burster, he always thought that he was obviously suppressing this monster so that he couldn't use his strength. When King Fengmo, who saw this situation, just continued to shake his head. To be honest, the Kamen Rider Burster disappointed him a bit. He couldn't even see such an obvious trap. Maybe this guy, apart from his very rich fighting experience, doesn't have many great advantages. The only thing to say is age and qualifications. On the other side, he thought that he had completely defeated the Kamen Rider Burster after the Sancho Fish Mejidodo. He was also very relaxed and hit the big sword in his hand on his shoulder. Then he was very proud and said to the King of Demons behind him, "Hey, what about you, young man? This is the battle of a real swordsman. Only Kamen Riders who are recognized by the Holy Sword are true Kamen Riders." Obviously, the Kamen Rider Burster at this moment is still very obsessed with the Holy Sword. He thinks that the king of the time of the demon who successfully transformed into a Kamen Rider without relying on the Holy Sword, he cannot be regarded as a Kamen Rider at all. Of course, these are just wishful thinking of Kamen Rider Burster. After all, he is still in a world of his own. He didn't know the world of Kamen Rider outside at all. But I believe it won't be long before he knows what a real Kamen Rider is. And listening to the words of the Kamen Rider Burster Mano Zhao, he did not give any response to the other party at this moment. Even at this time, he spoke in his low, hoarse voice. "Are you sure you have really won this battle? If that's the case, then you've really disappointed me a bit." Hearing the words of the king of the time of the devil, the Kamen Rider Buster, who was at this time, immediately showed a somewhat hideous expression. It was obvious that he felt a little anger at the words of the king of the time of the devil. "Damn it, guy, what the hell are you talking about? What the hell do you mean by that? How dare you teach me such a lesson to a mere boy?" Obviously, the Kamen Rider Buster at this moment, he felt quite annoyed at this time. After all, as a sword of truth, a Kamen Rider with such senior qualifications, of course he also has his own pride. Now that he was taught such a lesson by such a young child, he naturally felt quite dissatisfied. And listening to the words of the Kamen Rider Bust 497 in front of him. At this time, the king of encountering demons, he did not immediately respond to the other party, he just said incomparably indifferently, "I'm just stating the facts, are you sure you really solved it? Is that weirdo? Look back a little bit. Otherwise, you will be the one who suffers." Regarding the roar of Kamen Rider Buster just now, in fact, at this moment, the king of the demon age, he did not feel any emotions like anger. On the contrary, he was still reminding the Kamen Rider Buster that he should pay more attention to what happened on the battlefield. After all, in the previous world of Hakoniwa and the world of Demon High School, Luo Hao's character has been quite restrained. At least he doesn't look down on the Kamen Rider Buster in front of him too much now. Thank you for reading this story at Fiction Zone. Net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. It should have been divided into two by himself. It could even be said to be a little too naive. Today's first update asks for a wave of subscriptions. I sincerely ask all readers. Zaya Puji needs your subscription support. That guy should have already been dealt with by me. But just when he turned his head, he immediately discovered a very strange thing. Just like what the King of Demons said, he also started to check what was going on the battlefield. What is this all about? And listening to the words of the King of the Demon Age and the Kamen Rider Buster at this moment, he did not immediately feel angry because of it. The explosion was originally due to his own nirvana, and a raging flame was ignited, but it was quickly extinguished by taking advantage of this time. After all, in terms of talent, this guy is not a strong warrior. Looking at it this way, it is not a good thing or even a bad thing. Now he is still a little immersed in his own identity. On the contrary, at this time he also began to think and even turned around. What the hell is going on here? It shouldn't have happened. The mountain pepper fish Megiddo, who had completely disappeared from this world, actually appeared in his field of vision again. Under the armor, Uncle Agami Ryo also showed a very surprised expression. Of course, as a matter of course, he is not very optimistic about this guy. Obviously, the Kamen Rider Buster at this time, but some couldn't believe the fact that this happened in front of his eyes. That is clearly the Sanjiao fish Megiddo that he had destroyed by himself, and he was resurrected again at this time, and appeared in his field of vision. As if nothing had ever happened just now. What the hell is going on here? Could it be that you just entered into some kind of delusion unknowingly? At this moment, Kamen Rider Buster, he couldn't understand at all and couldn't react to what happened in front of his eyes. And right at that Kamen Rider Buster, he was puzzled, unable to understand the facts in front of him. When, standing behind him, the Demon King, he also put his hands on the Demon Driver around his waist. Then he flicked the upper surface switch twice. Soon, the armor on his body turned into countless dark golden rays of light, dissipating in the air. Now, there is simply no need for him to continue transforming, and looking at the King of Demons, who has returned to his original form. At this time, the Kamen Rider Buster, he was even more unable to understand what happened in front of his eyes. He simply had no way to correctly judge what the situation was at this moment. Look at the intact Sanjiao fish Megiddo and the Luo Hao who has returned to his human form. Damn it, what the hell is going on? This is too much trouble, and you guy, why do you want to go back to your human form? Are you guys going to give up the fight? Although Luo Hao, who can transform into a Kamen Rider without using a holy sword, doesn't like the Kamen Rider Buster at this moment. But even so, Luo Hao, he is still indeed a Kamen Rider. So even if he doesn't like it very much, at this time of Kamen Rider Buster, he has corresponding respect. So at this time, he couldn't understand why this guy chose to return to the human posture at this time. Zero ask for flowers. And listening to the incomprehensible words of the Kamen Rider Buster, Luo Hao at this moment, he only shrugged his shoulders slightly and then responded to the other party and said, HMPH, don't you have so little confidence in your own strength? Although the Sancho fish Megiddo was restored to its original state, but haven't you thought about why this happened? If you only knew the truth of the matter, it would be quite easy to deal with him. Or maybe you don't think you can handle that Serrano fish Megiddo. Need my help? Obviously, Luo Hao's words this time also used a very subtle way of aggression. Then the Sanjiao fish Megiddo is actually only a special ability, and the real combat power is actually not worth mentioning at all. But the real question now is, can this guy really judge his own situation and the other's situation? And listening to Luo Hao's words, he was worried about this guy's Kamen Rider coins, and he was also immediately angry. Cough. If there is such a meager Sanjiao fish Megiddo, I still don't pay attention to it at all. Don't underestimate people, this stinky brat. As soon as the Kamen Rider Buster's voice fell, he turned around abruptly and turned his attention to the mountain pepper fish 497 Megiddo. But what surprised him was that this time the Sanjiao fish Megiddo, he did not stay in the same place as before. Drink. On the contrary, at this time, the mountain pepper fish Megiddo made a special roaring sound, and then he stepped forward fiercely, running towards the direction of the Kamen Rider Buster in front of him. Very fast. For that Kamen Rider Buster, it was indeed quite fast. After all, the Kamen Rider Buster wearing heavy armor, its movement speed is very slow. In the face of the running pepper fish, Megiddo felt that the speed of the other party was very fast, and it was a matter of course. Bang, click. That Sancho fish Megiddo was already a success, and slapped the body of Kamen Rider B fiercely. Kamen Rider B, who was too late to make a defensive action, also retreated several steps from Lion Lincoln, who was repelled by this sudden attack. In the end, the powerful strength and heavy armor that he relied on stabilized his posture. Even though the Sancho's attack was at the level of fish and rice, for him, it couldn't do any effective damage at all. Please complete the subscription, please follow the subscription, please support. Today's first update, please readers' fathers. You did beat the guy once, but that doesn't mean you actually beat the guy. At this time, Luo Hao also nodded slightly. At this moment, the Kamen Rider Buster is still as stable as a mountain and has not received any trauma at all. For such a situation, he had already expected it at this moment. He didn't tell the guy the real truth directly, because if he did, it would be pointless. Even he reminded the Kamen Rider Buster impatiently and said zero. Although Luo wanted to remind this guy, he also used a very euphemistic way. Think about it carefully, the mountain pepper fish Megiddo just now did not let you enter the illusion, the real things that happened just now, so even the frontal endured the super attack of the mountain pepper fish and rice. Indeed, I clearly defeated this guy just now. La. That's right, but why is he able to appear in front of my eyes immediately? What is the reason for this? And listening to the reminder that he was promoted to that stinky boy, the Kamen Rider Buster at this moment, he is not willing to listen to it at all. Not to mention the strength of the Sanjiao fish Megiddo, just talking about the Kamen Rider wall, the defensive ability of the thick armor is already at the level of complete crushing. Seeing Kamen Rider bust 6 tur at this time, he also muttered. But even so, what he said was true. Finally, at this time the Kamen Rider Buster, he also reacted. It wasn't that he had just been hallucinated. I thought I had killed the Sanjiao fish Megiddo. But indeed, he had indeed successfully killed the mountain pepper fish Megiddo. At the same time, the problem is precisely here. That mountain pepper fish Megiddo, he can be resurrected, although I don't know how he did it. However, for now, according to Kamen Rider Buster's judgment, this is probably the case. 1. The current Sanjiao fish Megiddo has the ability to be completely resurrected in a short period of time. If so, that also means that now they must have the ability to completely prevent his resurrection before they can defeat the Sancho fish Megiddo. 1. The current Kamen Rider Buster, he obviously cannot do such a thing. Damn it, I'm afraid there's no way I can suppress the ability of Megiddo, the Sancho fish, to revive. I saw the Cayman Rider Buster at this time, although he was very dissatisfied. However, it must not be admitted. Now I am afraid that I am incapable of dealing with the Sanjiao fish Megiddo. Do not. It should be said that the current self, there is no way to completely eliminate that guy. However, just when that Cayman Rider Buster made such a statement, the Luo Hao behind him, he also said, "The ability to judge is not bad, at least I can judge the situation on the mountain pepper fish Megiddo. However, that is not a complete resurrection. It's just a super high-speed regeneration that makes you look like you're resurrected. This is also a very normal thing. However, right now you really have no way to suppress this ability. For you, this is a tough battle, some rare." The Luo Hao this time, he actually said so many words at the first breath. However, listening to Luo Hao's words behind him, that Cayman Rider Buster at this time, when he knew that his own abilities could not have an absolute effect on that Sanjiao fish Megiddo. Thank you for reading this story at Fiction Zone. Net, your support enables us to keep the site running. He just shrugged his shoulders. However, in the face of right and wrong, just got a real way to deal with that Sancho fish Megiddo, to completely destroy him. The Luo Hao at this time, how to solve it will be better. The current situation is not very good. Although Cayman Rider Buster doesn't like Luo Hao very much, he also turned back sharply. In fact, we don't need our shot. That Cayman Rider Bust 497er at least is still relatively mature. Then don't talk nonsense here. He also began to ask that Luo Hao for a solution, but listening to Cayman Rider Buster's words, now this is the case with Luo Hao's voice just fell. Sudden. A huge book of legends appeared in everyone's field of vision. Then the Shenshin Feiyuan, he suddenly entered the field of vision of everyone. Everyone, you are all right. I saw Shenshin Feiyuan at this time, he ran out in a hurry. From his words, it is also very obvious to feel that kind of panic, and looking at the arrogant Sanjiao fish Megiddo in front of him. At this time, the Shenshin Feiyuan, he also did not have any hesitation. Immediately. He also immediately took out the holy sword driver in his hand. Henshin, after the order was given, Kamiya Feiyu pulled out his flaming sword raging fire from the holy sword driver on his waist. Boom, the fire draws the sword, brave dragon tilde. The fire is a book. When the dragon of courage and the fire sword meet, the red sword will penetrate the evil. With the sound of the sound, Shenshin Feiyuan raised the flaming sword raging fire in his hand and slashed forward 2 consecutive flames of sword energy. And the 2 crossed flame sword chi that was cut out just now also fit on his armor face at this time. Suddenly, when Shenshin Feiyu was still running, he had already completed his transformation. And just at the moment when Kamiyama Fusion, he just completed his transformation and became the Cayman Rider Sacred Blade. He immediately took a step forward and ran in the direction of the mountain pepper fish Megiddo in front of him. The speed is very fast. Only. He looked at the Cayman Rider Holy Blade that was galloping. At the buster in front of the house at this time, he was also very panicked and said loudly, "Hey boys, don't be so impulsive. That guy, he has super fast recovery ability." Although at this time Cayman Rider Buster issued a reminder. However, the Cayman Rider Holy Blade that was charging, he seemed to be unable to hear the voice behind him at all. It seems that the ability of this Sanjiao fish Megiddo is even more difficult to deal with than they expected. He once again came to the Sanjiao fish Megiddo with the local tyrant swordsman in his hand. At this time, the Cayman Rider Buster, he also said helplessly, "Please complete the subscription, please follow the subscription, please support. Today's first update, please readers fathers. Drink." His own great sword actually slid away from the mountain pepper fish Megiddo, and it didn't play any role at all. The voice of Cayman Rider Buster just fell. Thank you for reading this story at Fiction Zone. Net, your support enables us to keep the site running. Bang, a voice, this time beyond his expectations. 18. No matter how many times you can be resurrected, I can destroy you. He was already, Lee's, once again slashing towards the mountain pepper fish Megiddo in front of him, and looking at the impulsive Cayman Rider Holy Blade. Along with the angry shout of the Cayman Rider Holy Blade, he slashed out the flaming sword fire in his hand. The flaming sword fire in his hand successfully blocked the attack of the Sanjiao fish Megiddo. Really an impulsive boy, there is no way. While talking, Cayman Rider Buster at this time was exhausted. Although at this time, Cayman Rider Sacred Sword and Cayman Rider Buster can't immediately solve the Sancho fish Megiddo in a short period of time. And the special ability of the other party really put them all at a disadvantage. However, even so, in terms of hard power, these 2 Cayman Riders still have the absolute upper hand. Boom, a loud noise, although the sword will be cut by the special substance on the Sanjiao fish Megiddo. 18. Relying on the most simple and huge power. At this time, the Cayman 500 Nightbuster, he still repelled the Sancho Fish Megiddo. In terms of power, Cayman Rider Buster, he will never lose to any existence. And look at the Sanjiao Fish Megiddo, who was successfully repelled. At this time, Cayman Rider Sacred Blade, he also opened his mouth and said, "Damn it, it's not the way to go on like this. Our attack, there is no way to have a decisive effect on this Sanjiao Fish Megiddo." This time, the situation is a little dangerous. The Cayman Rider Sacred Blade at this moment. After a short round of confrontation, he was already very clear. Right now, there is absolutely no way for them to attack that Sanjiao Fish Megiddo with any decisive effect. And listen to the words of Cayman Rider Sacred Blade. Although the Cayman Rider Buster at this time, he is somewhat reluctant to admit this fact. Even so, he had to admit it at this time. As far as his current ability is concerned, there is indeed no way to deal with the special ability of the Sanjiao Fish Megiddo. If it is a head-to-head confrontation, his own hard power was several times that of the Sanjiao Fish Megiddo. In the current situation, there is absolutely no way to do such a thing, because there is no way for his own attack to have a great effect on the Mountain Pepper Fish Megiddo. Moreover, he also has a super fast regeneration speed. If you don't have certain special abilities, deal with this guy. I saw that Cayman Rider Buster at this time, he said so. With the current situation, it is far from enough to defeat Cayman Rider Sacred Blade. Please complete the subscription, please follow the subscription, please support. Today's first update, please readers and fathers. Even in the face of a strong enemy, he still does not give up the fight. Indeed, the voice of Cayman Rider Holy Blade just fell. We can't just give up. Cough. Although some don't want to admit it, but to deal with this Megiddo. However, despite saying so, we still have to keep fighting. He was already clenching the flaming sword and raging fire in his hand, and once again assumed a fighting stance. Thank you for reading this story at Fiction Zone. Net, your support enables us to keep the site running. The Cayman Rider Holy Blade standing beside him, but he also said, "It can indeed be said to be helpless. This is the real Cayman Rider sound. We do seem to be at a disadvantage." And just as his voice fell, and listening to the declaration of that Cayman Rider Sacred Blade, Luo Hao, who had been watching the play in the back, also nodded slightly, the words spoken by Cayman Rider Holy Blade. At this time, he was also quite satisfied. "Hey boy, then this," hear the familiar voice behind him. At this time, the god Mountain Fei Yuzhen under the armor, he also turned back immediately. Luo Hao sang, "Is something wrong, generally speaking, on this battlefield?" If Luo Hao Sandu is still calling his name, then there must be something wrong. And just after Cayman Rider Sacred Blade turned around, Luo Hao, he also did not know when and where he took out a fantasy driving book of Hedgehog. Moreover, he had already threw the fantasy driving book Spike Hedgehog in his hand into the air. This kind of thing is of no use to Luo Hao. However, for the current Cayman Rider Holy Blade, this power is extremely urgently needed. Cough. Cayman Rider Holy Blade, he is also very relaxed. "I just took over the fantasy driving book of Spike Hedgehog from the air. Oh, it's a brand new driving book again, but the Hedgehog. If it is used for that Sancho Fish Megiddo, it should be very suitable." While talking, Cayman Rider Holy Blade at this time, he has already turned around and his eyes are focused on the Mountain Pepper Fish Megiddo in front of him. However, this time he had two more fantasy driving books in his hands. Only, the Cayman Rider Buster standing beside the Cayman Rider Sacred Blade. Naturally, he also noticed the two fantasy driving books in the hands of the Cayman Rider Sacred Blade and guessed the thoughts in his heart. "Hey, don't be impulsive. With your current strength and physical fitness, there is absolutely no way to drive the power of 3 books at the same time." Cayman Rider Buster at this time. He is reminding the current Cayman Rider Holy Blade not to be too impulsive to use the power of 3 fantasy driving books at the same time. After all, at this time, a brand new Cayman Rider Sacred Blade appeared in everyone's field of vision. Cayman Rider Holy Blade, he pulled out the flaming sword raging fire from the Holy Sword driver around his waist. Henshin, the fire draws the sword. When the 3 books overlap, the power that resides in the Holy Sword will boil up. Wonder Dragon Hedgehog Peterfin. The strong blade of the triple attribute will descend here. He did not listen to the words of the senior beside him. One order again. Jinshin Fei Yuzhen, who only became a swordsman for 2 days by virtue of it, how could he do such a thing?
Hello, everyone! As we wrap up this video, I want to share a quick note. I have a Patreon account. If you'd like to support me and enjoy on-demand audiobooks, you can become a Patreon member. Alternatively, you can check out my Google Drive link, which has 500+ novel audiobooks available through my Ko-fi or Patreon shop. I appreciate your support.